Hey now, it's your boy PSA Sitch here with another Tuesday show with everyone's favorite will never ever decline to take a cognitive test, Adam Friend.
Oh, I'm down. Whatever cognitive test you want to throw at me.
Okay,
I've
I want you to.
taken
I,
six cognitive tests.
have you
So,
really?
yeah. Yeah, because that's how they test you for dyslexia. They give you three
Oh,
written
okay.
tests and they give you three. Well, I guess they're kind of like IQ tests. They're not really cognitive. An IQ test is a cognitive test,
No,
right?
no, 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 no. Cognitive test is specifically the test for like dementia and stuff in old people.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like you've seen those pictures of like the can you draw like a clock, you know?
Oh, yeah. We brought those up one time. I remember
Yeah,
those
and you
were
see like the
fun.
cognitive decline of the clock just get like worse and worse.
Maybe we could just ask Joe Biden to draw us a clock.
There you go. Yeah. For
Hey,
just for
there's a clock
completely
drawing competition going on right now. Would you like to compete? Oh, yes, I would, son. Thank you.
they go, Mr. Biden, woo, 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 Mr. Biden, look, we have some nice ice cream treats right here for you, but they'll only be awarded to the person who could draw the best clock. Okay.
Right.
You get an
Yes.
ice cream sandwich if you can just really draw the numbers on a clock correctly.
Perfect.
There you
Yes.
go.
And he'd fail with flying colors, obviously. I love the fact that I'm feeling the election year cringe that so many people are just, they're trying to get you to vote a certain way. They know we have a platform that they would like us to pitch their candidate on, so they're kind of being weird around me.
Hmm.
It's so horrible. None of them know that you and I are not really the types to come out and say, "This is who you should vote for."
Yeah,
Vote
well,
for the
see,
guy I want you to vote for.
we're like unusual because we're probably one of the few people, not there's others, but one of the few people in the political space will come out here and we'll talk about politics. We're very interested in politics, but we just don't feel a strong urge to like demand that our audience votes one way or the other.
Well, I don't know what is right for you. For me, it's kind of like there's some personal preference. There's how these policies affect you personally. Like if
Right.
somebody is in a border town in Texas, they're probably more interested in border security than someone who's in Maine, right?
Hmm.
So for me to say, look, you have to vote, this way, you should vote how the policies affect you. I think that's the whole point of voting.
Right.
They call it a poll, like they poll people to find out, how you're doing. This is the test of how people are doing in the nation. If people are in terrible, dire straits, more than 50% of people that vote are in dire straits, they're going to vote for change because life
Yes.
sucks for them.
True. True.
Yeah. And that's the way it should be.
Well, and also when I feel like both candidates are not great candidates, it's like, what, you want me to come out here?
Yeah. Look, I can't. At this very moment, I'm not sure
Yeah,
who I'm voting for.
it's
Like,
like I'm gonna come
this
out
is
and
a
show
tough
them.
decision.
Oh, come on.
I
Yeah.
don't know that I want to make the decision for myself. Why do I want to make the decision for you?
Hmm. Hmm.
And all these people that are so confident about it, it makes me super suspicious of them.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you need
Well,
a cognitive test if you're confident in this election.
what do you mean? Like confident in who's gonna win, or confident in who should win?
Confident in who should win.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. There's trade-offs in both.
Right.
Like if you're in a situation, you're in a city, you're worried about crime, Biden, come on. You're probably leaning towards Trump, right? You're leaning towards the Republicans, a tough on crime party.
Hmm.
Yeah. If you're, look, it all depends upon your situation.
So there's an interesting, well, we've been talking about how after that kind of explosive special investigation report from her came out that questioned or called into question Joe Biden's memory abilities.
Right.
Um, and this is
From
part,
who's her?
he was the special investigator,
Okay.
her, um, who this was in relation to looking into whether the State Department, I'm sorry, the State Department, I'm all fucked up today. The Attorney General's office should bring charges against Joe Biden for the documents, the top secret documents he had in his garage. Okay.
Right.
And part of the rationale for why the guy who was a Trump appointee said that they shouldn't bring charges against Biden is because he felt like they would lose the case because the jury would see Biden as a well-meaning old man who had memory problems. And they
Yeah.
and he cited specific examples such as not knowing the year that his son died, not exactly knowing what year he was vice president or when the like what term, like what were the dates from his first and second term of vice president, things of that nature. And this report actually broke through the sort of like Republican media narrative into the mainstream narrative about Joe Biden's mental decline issues. And it's actually interesting right now, and I don't know if this will come out or not. It'd be very interesting. The Republicans are actually trying to get a hold of the video because supposedly these interviews that Biden had with the FBI are taped, and they want the video of the interview.
Oh, I want the video.
Yes. Yeah, so do I. So do I. Because then we could see for ourselves. If they just release the transcript, that won't do anything because it's hard to tell from words exactly like the tone and what's going on. I want to see the video so we can see like, oh, is Biden being serious? Does he not actually remember? Like what's going on there? And it could be, very damning or exculpatory. So I'm assuming it's going to be damning.
Yeah, I don't the whole thing of the dates, I would like to see the video because, occasionally someone will ask you, "What's your wife's birthday?" And you're like, "Oh, let me think about that for a
Sure,
sec."
right. Yeah, yeah.
Like, so remembering dates, you probably remember where you worked for your first job, right? When did you work there? Okay, well, that's a bit tougher. So,
Exactly, right.
yeah.
And you want to make sure that like it's not that there wasn't a situation. I doubt this, but there wasn't a situation where Biden is like, "Oh, when was when did the second term begin?" And then like a second later, he's like, "Oh, yes, it was here." And like he immediately gets the answer, right? Like you
Right.
want to make sure there's not like some fancy, BS editing going on. So it would be nice if we could get the whole video to watch the interview to make up our minds for ourselves. So we'll see what happens there. But so it was very interesting to see that this kind of this attack on Joe Biden's cognitive ability had now entered into the mainstream. It's very interesting how like this to me kind of shows you how different sides of the political aisle value information in different ways. Because people have been bringing up clips of Joe Biden saying things and reports, unanimous reports and things like this or anonymous reports. But once you have like an official government report that says it, the left takes it more seriously, even though it was written by like a right-wing person. And that's kind of
Okay.
interesting to me. And this attack is now okay. So I had speculated that this is going to be like the beginning of the end for Biden's campaign, was this report and then the subsequent press conference that Biden put out afterwards, where he performed so poorly and basically seemed to just reinforce everyone's ideas that he has, cognitive problems.
A lot of people have cast that as, "Oh, everything is just fine. I didn't think it was that bad." So,
Of course, some people have, yeah, sure, 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 sure. But it's interesting. So what we've seen from the Biden administration is that they have circled the wagons. They're making no sort of hint whatsoever that that Biden's going to drop out yet, okay, or try to pass, the torch off to someone else. But now there's another attack against Biden and his cognitive ability that I think is like the double damning thing here. This could be another huge blow to getting Biden to drop out of the race, and that's Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart has come back. Okay. He's been resurrected from the grave to re-host the Daily Show, to fix the failing, dying Daily Show. And in his very first episode that he's back, he attacks Joe Biden's cognitive abilities.
wow.
Okay. This is the most beloved and trusted man by like the liberal media apparatus and the mainstream liberal audience has came out in his first ever show and attacked Joe Biden's cognitive ability. Like
This
this is
is
a huge
on
deal.
this is on Comedy Central.
Yes. Yes.
So Comedy Central has reignited the Daily Show. Oh, interesting.
Well, so yeah, because the Daily Show's been just on this downward slope of failure ever since he left so many years ago.
Right.
And now
Oh,
Jon Stewart
okay.
had
Yeah, yeah,
had
yeah.
gone off and he was doing his own show on Apple Podcast. We covered a couple episodes where it was awful.
Yeah,
Where,
they're awful. They're terrible.
he had been hyper woke and everything. So, but if you want to bring up, we can watch a short clip
Yeah, where is it?
um in the
I'm
watch
looking at this.
together.
Jon Stewart totally pissed off left-leaning viewers in Daily Show return for questioning Biden's mental fitness.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so did he? Where's who did the "you're fired" thing with Trevor Noah? Look, it's so funny. I don't even. I'm not even. I'm not even cognitive of the fact that the Daily Show is still around with Trevor Noah. Like, it's just such a.
Well, I'm trying. I think he. I don't know when he left. I think
So
he
he's not.
left.
He's not even there anymore. The Daily Show is still around, limping around. It still exists. Adam doesn't know about it because it's
Yeah.
garbage.
Yes.
So, and they've decided, hey, we need to get Jon Stewart back on there. His Apple podcast show is trash. Everyone hates him now.
Hmm.
He's basically CRT Stewart, critical race theory Stewart, right? He's done a bunch of episodes hating on white people.
Hmm.
So now he's going to tell all those white people, hey, by the way, Biden sucks.
So so Trevor Noah actually left at the end of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think according to this article, for most of 2023, they just had like different celebrity guests like every week. And they couldn't find someone to like just do like a permanent thing. And
Yeah,
so they
they're like, I don't
basically
want a
are
part of
like
that.
they're basically like, we just need to get Jon Stewart back. He's the only one that could save the show.
Okay. Not a big Jon Stewart fan anymore.
No, not anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But listen, I gotta give him credit because, coming out this, hard against Biden now he was attacking both Trump and Biden for being old and on the cognitive decline, but for daring to attack Joe Biden's cognitive decline publicly on the first ever return of the Daily Show is a pretty huge deal. Okay.
People on the left constantly do this, and it drives me crazy. They put up the worst possible candidates in the world. And instead of blaming the candidate for being garbage, they blame the voter for not voting for the garbage candidate.
Right.
It's like, oh, your fault Hillary Clinton didn't get elected. It's all your fault Joe Biden, the Crypt Keeper, didn't get reelected.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't you put up a better candidate?
Yep.
Don't blame the independents. They know what's up. They're the kingmakers. They're batting 1,000. You're batting 50-50. Ready?
Yeah.
Will say that any criticism like this, especially of Biden, is unfair because you just don't know Biden like they know Biden.
President Biden, who I've been around numerous times just in this last year, is sharp, he's focused, he's bright.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
This is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game, who knows what's going on.
He's smart. He's on his game.
I was in almost every meeting with the president, and the president was in front of and on top of it all, coordinating and directing leaders who are in charge of America's national security, not to mention our allies around the globe.
Did anyone film that? Because if you're telling us behind the scenes he is sharp and full of energy and on top of it and really in control and leading, you should film that.
Okay, so yeah, so it's just, first of all, why is Kamala Harris so unlikable? This is like an enigma to me. I don't know what it is. Whenever I hear her talk, it's just so something. There's something there that's just not working.
Yeah, she sounds drunk.
Is that she just sounds? Is it her tone of voice? Because she didn't look drunk. It doesn't like she's not saying something that sounds like she's, not cognitively there because she's impaired.
Yeah, I don't think she really says anything substantive. She tends to repeat herself. She sounds like she's stoned, like stoned Valley girl at a party. I mean, that
must be it. Yeah,
basically her cadence. She just doesn't come off as credible. Yeah. This is interesting because Jon Stewart's Daily Show audience is usually, just they're usually communist, right? They're usually far left. And here they are applauding.
Well, it's complicated.
Sitch is like,
Well, no. So here's the interesting thing. That the fact that there's a young far left commies, it could actually be why they're applauding.
Oh, you're
and laughing.
right. Genocide Joe. Yes, you're right.
Right. Because if you look at Hassan or Brianna Greyjoy or any like the further left people, they're all totally jumping on the Biden is in cognitive decline train because they want someone further left to run. They want, Marianne Williamson or who the hell ever, it would be in their wildest imagination. So they're totally fine pointing out that Joe's on the decline. So maybe that, because I thought of that too. I thought it's interesting to me that the audience here is applauding this.
Yeah, no, they're attacking Genocide Joe. They got problems with Joe Biden for other reasons than cognitive decline.
Yes.
But they're jumping on the cognitive decline because they know it's going to appeal to independent voters.
Right.
Yeah.
Caleb for $5 says Biden's age is overlooked because of policy distinctions in Trump and Biden being so polar. Does this make sense to you? Of course. Yeah, no, I mean, that's obviously what is going on here. But just the question is, and I guess it should have been is, coming into 2024, if Joe Biden's team is aware that he has such cognitive issues, or at least even if he doesn't, just appears to have such cognitive issues, combined with his very low approval rating, shouldn't they have had a serious conversation and actually gone forward with Joe saying that he wasn't going to run again and that they were going to have a primary? Like, it seems to me insane in the height of ego, I imagine, from either Joe Biden or from his team, that they're like, oh yeah, he's going to run again in 2024 and, pick up the mantle of being the strong leader president. It's insane. It's completely insane.
Okay.
Do you think that this Jon Stewart Daily Show thing is going to have any impact on anything? Because I feel like this could have a massive impact and actually possibly pressuring Joe Biden into quitting.
Well, the question that I've been wrestling with is the details of how to transfer power over to another candidate. The strategy that I believed they were going with when I thought Joe Biden was reasonable was Joe Biden would lock down the nomination and then pass the torch over to Gavin Newsom. I'm not I think maybe he doesn't want to pass the torch over, but still the logic holds true. Even if they want to wrestle the nomination away from Joe Biden, they have to do it at the right time, right? If they did it today, chaos would ensue. A bunch of people would enter the race. I mean, it would be just a shit show, right? So I do think the people who want to get rid of Joe Biden, who maybe have the possibility of getting rid of Joe Biden, like they have some leverage in the Democratic Party, they're going to want to do it at the opportune time. Now, what the opportune time is, I'm not necessarily sure because I haven't really done a lot of research into this. So what are your thoughts?
So I don't think the real restriction here. Okay, so you have to remember the DNC and the RNC are private organizations. They could choose their presidential candidate however they want. They could just write new bylaws or whatever. And so the mechanism could very easily just be that the DNC at the convention just votes, whoever the delegates are, the super delegates are, could just vote for whoever they want. And there's going to be some kind of major Game of Thrones style like war behind the scenes in the DNC to determine who the front runner is or who the candidate is if Joe Biden publicly announces that he's dropping out. So that could 100%. That's a mechanism how it would be chosen. People wouldn't be able to vote for it in a primary because all the dates have passed. It would basically be the DNC has to select someone, and it's going to be kind of like chaos because it's going to be all the various factions kind of going for power. And obviously, whoever Biden taps would presumably have the best chance of getting that nomination. But the real restriction here isn't that. The real restriction here is the states. And each state has a deadline that a candidate has to file their name to be on the ballot. Okay. And I believe, and I could be mistaken, but I believe it has to be the individual candidate. It can't be like a political party. So it can't be like the Democrats just filed to be on the ballot in North Carolina, and then whoever the Democrat is, goes in that slot. I think it has to be a very specific person by name.
That date has to be after the primary, though, because they have to pay. A lot of times the campaigns have to pay ungodly sums of money just to get on the ballot. So they can't ask people to be on the ballot even though they haven't won the nomination.
Well, what you're saying makes sense, but I found an article or a Ballotpedia site that says it has the dates of the first cutoffs of these filing deadlines by state. Okay.
Okay.
And the first two states, the deadline to be on the ballot if you're running for president is March 5th. And that's North Carolina and Utah.
Okay.
And North Carolina is an important state. So that could be the deadline for when this happens. When
is the last primary? Because the DNC convention could be ceremonial once the primary is over. Last primary.
I mean, because
also look, a part of this equation is the candidate selection process has to be credible with the voters. Otherwise, they're worried the base is not going to turn out in the general.
Right.
So that is going to be a massive part of figuring into this. And if Joe Biden drops out today, and I mean, obviously, the only way to make it credible is to have candidates submit and be running in the primaries. Like, how do you make it look credible with Joe Biden dropping out and everyone saying, well, just vote for Joe Biden and we'll pick a replacement? Come on, that doesn't seem
no.
So
people wouldn't vote for Joe Biden. There wouldn't be there's not going to be primaries for the Democrats at all. It's just going to be the DNC is just going to choose somebody. And that's part of why
that doesn't seem credible.
I agree with you. I agree with you completely. But that's part of probably the calculation here for why people are very hesitant to do this, is because the fact that Biden said he was going to stick it out and then drop out really screwed the pooch here, because there couldn't have been a normal process where you're right, where people would actually get to choose and they'd vote and then they could feel like the candidate they wanted, went forward. It's going to be Biden dropping, if he drops out, Biden dropping out, and then the DNC just fighting amongst themselves and then choosing who the candidate is. And they would only do that if they thought that even with that process happening, it would still be more likely that that candidate would be Trump than Biden would be Trump. And that's kind of the $1,000 question, right? Is it better to stay with Biden, or is it better to pick a new person that no one voted for, or that the population didn't vote for?
Yeah. Look, you're still going to have elites in the Democratic Party selecting the nominee, which that doesn't play into the narrative that Hillary Clinton was totally selected by party elites.
Right.
It's just, look, the Democrats are going to lose.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with it. I can't figure out myself personally. I can't tell what would give the Democrats a better shot. Going with Biden, despite cognitive decline, despite his low approval ratings, or throwing him out and just selecting someone, because people just hate Trump so much that they'll just vote against like anyone but Trump, right?
The Genocide Joe contingent is more likely to vote for just somebody who says we're gonna drop funding to Israel, which they can say during the
no, there's not gonna be a
election.
Democrat that says that. Okay, that's not gonna happen. That's like a fantasy.
You said that about Trump running for president.
There's no, if Joe Biden drops out and another Democrat replaces him, that's chosen by the DNC, he's not going to drop funding for Israel. He might say,
But he might say it to gain a voter coalition and then go back on the promise once he's elected. Look, anything can happen here.
Sure.
Let's go back to the dates, okay? Look,
Yes.
I'm looking at August 20th. That can't be right for the last primary.
Yeah.
So we have a primary in August. So look, how do you if you don't even know if you've won Wyoming? I guess none of the why are these people even having a primary? It's
Well,
so
no, so
funny. By August, it's so obvious who has won the primary because they have enough delegates
it is
to be
funny
the
that
nominee.
the last
Virginia, June 18th.
wait, are you sure
Virginia,
it's wait, are you sure?
you're retards.
No, you're looking at the wrong thing. It can't be because the DNC
Oh,
convention.
That's a state runoff here.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, because the DNC convention itself starts on the 19th of August.
Right.
Right.
So the latest is April 2nd then.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, no, there's like a June 4th here. South Dakota, June 4th. Is their presidential primary or caucus.
Okay.
So look, if you don't know the results of the primary, how can you be on the ballot?
No, it's just you filing with the state to potentially be on the ballot.
Right. So you have to submit your
Yes.
okay. Look,
and you do have to pay the filing fee and everything, yeah.
This is a great tell because if Gavin Newsom submits, we know strange things are afoot at the Circle K, right?
Well, here's what'll be interesting. So if March 5th rolls around and Biden's still officially in the race, you'll see a bunch of people reporting like, did Gavin Newsom or any other Democrats file to be on the ballot in North Carolina and Utah, right? Because that will be interesting. Like, okay.
They have to have some kind of loophole that allows them to file late. There has to be some kind of loophole.
They might just file anyway. I don't know if you can only the question would be
that would be primetime news. There's no way that's going to happen.
I don't know. I'm just saying because if there's no loophole and they can file, they'll file just on the chance that, because if Gavin Newsom just theoretically is the only Democrat who files in all these states so that, come June or August, Joe Biden drops out, then they're going to have to choose him because he's the only person that could be on the ballot.
That will be fascinating. But I guess we're going to be looking. What is that date? I'm writing it down.
March 5th.
Okay.
March 5th. And it's North Carolina, which is an important state for the Democrats to win.
So March 5th, we have to look at who filed for North Carolina.
Right.
Okay. Fascinating. All right.
Libertarian Trap for 16 months. Thank you. Says the fact that leftists have gone from Dark Biden to Genocide Joe will never not be hilarious to me. S-class is best class. And A-team is A-okay.
Sweet. Thank you. Thank you for the A-okay. Much appreciated. North Carolina ballot application deadline. Okay. Look, we're on it. We're doing real journalism here. We're going to find out what's going on. And we're going to see that Gavin Newsom. Look, people, because I have said that I believe the plan from the Democratic Party apparatchik is to insert Gavin Newsom into the general election, that I am somehow in favor of Gavin Newsom. Okay, look, I hate Gavin Newsom. I think Gavin Newsom has been a terrible governor and is all in all a lying piece of shit. Okay, look, I'm not in favor of this happening. I'm just looking at it from a reality perspective. It just seems like, look, they're not gonna. I got news for you. The Democratic Party is not going to slide in Marianne Williams. Okay, if you think that, you're a moron. Okay. I don't care how much you love Marianne Williams. That ain't happening. That's not going to happen, guys. Okay. They're going to slide in the good-looking used car salesman who will say anything, including I'm going to cut off all funding for Israel to get elected.
He's not going to say that, but okay.
Look, you don't know the depravity of Gavin Newsom.
No.
Okay?
It's not a question. It's not a question of selling out. There's too many on the left, like the older left, that support Israel. He'll make some comments about being tough on Israel, but he's not going to say tough on me.
Mhm.
That's my prediction.
So, do you want to move on to another story, or
Oh, okay. Lucifer Zoma for 20 Canadian. Thank you so much. Says I'm about to go on a mountain hike. Luckily, I will be able to listen the whole way. Really loving the 11 a.m. streams. Keep up the good work. Also, hey, Spoon, I know you're watching. Love you, bro.
we
Yeah,
have a
so
new arch villain on the channel?
is it really? It's more just like I don't know, an arch stalker.
Oh,
I think that's a
okay.
better way of doing it. An arch tsundere. Is that a better way of saying it? I think. We have a new
Maybe.
tsundere candidate, which is so I said so Spoon, who we talked to, I think once. It was on the Ukraine debate with Aiden. He made some video that I didn't watch because I said it would be funny if I don't watch it, that he was criticizing me and Adam about something. It seemed like he was, I don't know what he was talking about with you. With me, it sounded like he was completely misrepresenting my position on the border wall, and why you need to get rid of the ability for people to apply for asylum on the border before the border wall even matters. And it seemed like he was completely misrepresenting that position to his audience. And because I said it would be funnier if I don't watch it, well, that turned out to be completely true because it looks like he got very triggered by that comment and now made yet another video attacking us because I didn't watch the first video. So
Lucy in the chat is saying he's up to 3 videos now.
oh, he's made
I think Lucy watched the most recent one and said it basically amounts to democracy is evil and everything Sitch and Adam say
of
is
course.
untrue.
Of
Right.
course, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a monarchist, so that's he wants to bring back, he's a not American, he's a dirty proto-American. So he wants to bring back the king and queen. He can't get over the fact that we beat their ass, so many hundreds of years ago. It's been roiling his blood ever since that, America's the best.
Yeah, it's kooky, crazy.
Sketch for $5 says, remember when Democrats said John McCain was too old to run for president in 2008? Funny how that tune changed real quick. Very true. That's completely true. And John McCain didn't even show any symptoms of cognitive decline, and people were saying that. So yeah. M8566 for $5 says, I saw a post saying, quote, Israel so evil, we are going to have to invent a new word for evil. Some of them were saying that Israel killed a 4-year-old question mark. I mean, it's so ridiculous, right? It's so ridiculous that everyone, so many people on the left have basically lost their mind about this. And it's kind of actually annoyed me. There was a Super Bowl ad. I don't know if you saw this, that I agree. I liked the message of the ad. It was a woman who she comes home and there's like a swastika spray painted on her garage, and she runs away or drives away with her daughter, and their neighbor who's fixing his car, he like paints over it. And it's supposed to be like, good neighbors, helping each other, not be racist in America, right? So I like that message. I like all that stuff. But then at the end of the ad, it's like there's been a 25% uptick in anti-Semitic violence and anti-Semitic bigotry. And my only problem with the ad is that by having it like someone draw a swastika on a garage, the average person would watch that ad and think that the uptick has been like right-wing neo-Nazi types, far right-wing neo-Nazi types that has been an uptick in, when I'm assuming that the big uptick in anti-Semitic bigotry is from the left because of all the anti-Israel protests and all the anti-Israel stuff that's been going on right now. And I don't think that ad really paints the correct picture to the American people to show, no, there's a bunch of anti-Semitism on the left that you have to be aware of.
People being dishonest in political ads, Sitch? Tell me it isn't true.
There you go. Rowan Phillips for 19 months says, Democrats really don't need someone from California. They got in the bag. You'd think they go for someone from a swing state. I mean, they're going to go for whoever they think can win. So I don't know if there's a person from a swing state that people would vote for, but Stock for $5 says, ironic that Sitch hates chopsticks and he makes pieces of silverware very angry at him. There you go. There you go. Okay. Did you want to talk about that article you sent me, which was kind of hilarious?
Let's talk about Trump attacks NATO since it's in the description.
Okay.
You want to talk about it?
A lot of people were very upset at Trump and they were accusing him of attacking NATO in this like oh my God, he's going to destroy NATO. He's going to pull us out of NATO if he wins the election. Okay, I'm assuming you've heard this story, and so
Yeah, look, yeah,
yeah.
everyone's making hay out of it.
So I went and I found the actual quote because I was very curious. I'm like, what did he say? Because I always feel like he's very often taken out of context or sort of his words twist around. So I found it. This was the quote. He said this on Saturday at a rally in South Carolina.
You didn't watch the video? I mean, I've seen the video like 100 times.
Yeah, I've seen it now, but I was just going to read the quote to you. But
Okay, go ahead.
well, did you want to say something about the video?
No, I mean, read the quote, but do it in a Trump accent. Trump says he would encourage Russia to do whatever the hell they want.
Do whatever they want. I don't know if I can do a Trump
to any
I
NATO
can't-
country that doesn't pay enough.
I can't quite hear the Trump. I can't get there. I'd have to like hear Trump talk again. But anyway, so I'm just gonna read it normally. So at a rally, he was sort of postulating that he was saying that this was a conversation he had when he was president with an unspecific, unnamed leader of a NATO country. Okay.
Right. Okay.
So Trump claims, he says, one of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, do you think that like presidents of other countries call the president of America, sir? Just
Well,
that already
sir.
kind of makes me think this is not a real story.
Well, sir. They don't
Well,
call him
sir.
Donald.
Yeah. Well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay, you're a delinquent. He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I wouldn't protect you. In fact, I would encourage them being Russia, to do whatever the hell they want with you. You got to pay. You got to pay your bills.
Just like this immediately made me think of some Russian ambassador calling up the White House and asking, "Hey, is Germany paid up on their NATO? How about France?
Is Poland?
Is France
Poland
paid up? Is Poland paid up on their
Yeah.
NATO?
Yeah.
What about Finland? Is Finland paid up?
Right. Right.
Right? Like,
Though he does, even though I don't have, I saw it, but I don't have it in this article I have open. He did say after that that the country did pay up, right? So he's claiming that this was a tactic he used in order to get NATO countries to, pay the 2% or whatever the number is that they're all supposed to pay.
mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's a couple things. So first of all, I think people are misrepresenting the comment, but I still think it's a bad comment. I think they're misrepresenting it because the whole point of the story, which I don't think is a real story, by the way, it sounds like a completely fake story or like a hyperbolized story, is that Donald Trump wasn't saying this in order to say that we as Americans should pull out of NATO or something like that. He was saying this in terms of, look at how good I am as a persuader and a negotiator. I was forcing these NATO countries who are not pulling their weight to pull their weight with my tough talk, right? That's the point of the story.
Of course. Yeah. I'm a badass. Look, I make
Right.
people pay their bills.
Right. People are kind of like interpreting the story, I think, incorrectly, that the point of the story is that Trump wants Russia to attack NATO countries or something. That was not the point of the story. But so I don't agree with any of that, and I think that's an unfair criticism. What I think would be a valid criticism is that when you're the president, especially when it comes to international relations, so much of what happens through these international conflicts is misunderstandings and unclear messaging between countries. And so when you're the president or the former president, or you're running for president and you're handling and dealing with other countries, you need to be crystal clear with what exactly it is that's going on in sort of your foreign policy goals. Okay. You need to be very, very clear. And we already saw that Russia or that Putin personally has a kind of incorrect worldview of what other countries are going to do. This is why so many of us, myself included, thought he would never invade Ukraine, because it seems so obviously stupid and it seems so obvious that the West would react the way it did. But from Putin's perspective, because he's so insulated with yes men, because he's purged all the dissent, he didn't see it. He didn't have a clear view of what reality was, so he invades Ukraine. And then, surprise, surprise, the West gets all mad. about it. And I think the fact that he had his interview with Tucker, where and kind of instead of playing into the sort of America bad Western narrative about why Russia's justified in going after Ukraine, instead of doing that, he kind of destroyed that entire narrative and just went on for an hour about how Ukraine isn't a real country anyway. That to me shows that Putin is still still in his little bubble. He's still trapped in his ideological bubble of yes men who are just telling him a bunch of shit he wants to hear. He doesn't have a clear picture of reality. And so, since that seems to be very true with Putin, I think a legitimate criticism of this is that I understand what Trump is saying, but he's not thinking of it. He's only thinking of it in terms of like how he can win the election. He's not thinking of it in terms of how Putin would interpret that statement. Because I could very easily see Putin interpreting that statement incorrectly and thinking, oh, Trump actually isn't going to defend, Poland or some NATO country if I attack them. And that's not the messaging that you ever want to send out as president. And I think that's the legitimate criticism.
Yeah, it could be misinterpreted by Putin. We're in the thick of it with Putin, though. So I guess maybe you're saying you don't think undermining NATO at this crucial time is the best course of action?
Well, yeah, I think yes, I don't think undermining NATO at this point of time is the best course of action. But I think you need to send a signal first. You need to send a signal to the NATO countries themselves to tell them, like, listen, America's going to got your back. We're going to be there. And you need to send a very clear message to Putin that any expansionism and attacking on a NATO country will not be tolerated.
Right.
People were talking about how, like, oh, Putin would not have attacked Ukraine under Trump. Okay, it's like, well, that's only true if Trump is going to put forward a clear message that if Putin does something, if he crosses some red line, there will be some sort of action that he won't like. And when you put out statements like this, it muddles that message. It makes the line unclear as to what exactly is going on, especially for someone like Putin, who already seems to not be getting good information anyway.
Yeah, it could definitely hurt things. I see this a lot more as just just playing politics. I don't really think this is going to have a big effect on NATO countries paying, on Putin's behavior. I don't think this is really going to affect anything. But
well, I could agree with that in terms of I would be skeptical that Russia is going to attack some other country because I just don't think they're going to have, whenever this ends with Ukraine, it's hard for me to imagine Russia is going to have the energy or the military capacity to attack anyone else for like 10 years.
I mean, we just saw the interview with Putin, and like he didn't even really seem concerned about NATO at all, to much chagrin by Tucker Carlson.
Right. But the question is, how much of that is that could be a positive, or first of all, that could be just bluster, or it could be how much of that's negative and positive. Because he's not concerned about it, then maybe it means, oh, maybe I should attack, some part of Poland.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, right? It could mean that he doesn't, like, he's ready to go. Poland next up.
Right. But I don't think that that's a concern just because since Russia's doing so poorly, or rather they were doing poorly and now things have been stalemated for such a long time. I don't think they're going to have the capacity to go anywhere else after Ukraine ends, whenever it ends. So right. I'm not like concerned that, like, oh, once Ukraine falls, he's going to march into Poland. Like, I don't think that's a likely scenario. But
yeah, I think people are making a lot of hay about this. They're trying to say, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. And as far as like bad things Trump has said, this is like maybe a 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's more politics than anything. But look, I agree. This could send the wrong message. I don't know that it will.
Well, no, I think it does send the wrong message. The question is, does sending that wrong message have any actual impact on reality?
Right. Do you think Putin is not aware of the constraints that Democrats have in catering to an electorate in order to get elected? I feel like Putin, I believe Putin knows that in great detail. He understands what's going on here.
I
I mean,
don't
he
agree with you at all.
okay.
I think Putin understands the general concept of the constraints. I don't think, based on the fact that Putin invaded Ukraine, based on his interview with Tucker, I don't trust that Putin is getting painted an accurate picture from his underlings about what those constraints are and what the American people feel and want in terms of dealing with Russia.
Okay. So he doesn't have a clear picture of what the electorate wants.
Yes.
Do you think he knows that politicians will say and do anything to get elected?
Yes.
And that it might not come to fruition, that they make campaign promises all the time that end up being scuttled?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I think so too.
Philip Coggins for $5 says the Korean War started because the U.S. Secretary of State failed to mention Korea in a speech about Asia. Is that true? That's insane if
Wow.
that's true. I didn't know that. Wow, that's
That is
interesting.
pretty crazy.
Libertarian Task Watch for $5 says before the Super Bowl, they had a big pregame show about how cops are always killing black people. It made me want to turn the game off. Really? That's insane. I hadn't heard about that. Wow. Oh my God, that's awful.
So I guess the last story is the Biden declines cognitive test.
Well, there's another story that's kind of related, but yeah.
Okay.
Well, let me just finish reading this before we get into that. Libertarian Task
Sure,
Watch
go
for
ahead.
$5 says before the Super Bowl. Oh no, I'm sorry, I read that one. Dialogue Always. Hey, Dialogue Always for $5 says the ad uses swastika because it's a symbol of clear Jewish hate. Anything else has too many variables to create a clear message. No, like I get it from a editing artistic standpoint. They used to use swastika because you go, oh, they don't like Jews. But it does have a very clear association with sort of a far-right neo-Nazi contingency. They could have put like, the swastika and then under it like Free Palestine or something. Right? There's some things from the river to the sea. Maybe that's what they should have done. They should put the swastika and they should have put like from the river to the sea under it. And I agree, it would have made it a little bit more complicated, but that would be a more accurate depiction of what's going on in terms of like the increase in anti-Semitism in our country currently. So Caleb for $10, thank you, says Putin won't attack NATO. Probably why he jumped on Ukraine when he did, but there are war games after Ukraine like Moldova, Finland, Sweden, though they were next. Yeah, I mean, I would hope you're correct that there wouldn't be any attack on NATO. I would assume not. But as I very publicly had a very wrong prediction about Putin's behavior. So, we can't tell. We can't tell.
I didn't even know you made that prediction. I just saw you saying that you got it wrong on Twitter. That's the first I encountered it.
Okay. I mean, I said it on stream a lot,
get-
so it's okay. I know you don't listen, but it's fine.
Well, we probably talked about it. I think we did
probably
do a
did.
stream where we talked about it, and I said, well, I don't really know. I don't really have enough information to know.
Okay. Look at this guy over here.
Look, I remember that. Yeah, because I wasn't making any public declarations that I got it wrong, because I didn't come out and say, oh, yeah, there's no way in hell Putin is going to invade.
Yep.
I kind of, look, I guess there's really few things that you can make real strong declarations about in this day and age.
True.
Yeah.
True. Okay.
Who knows?
So we have the Joe Biden. This is interesting. Okay. So Joe Biden is doing his regularly scheduled health checkup with his doctor. And the press asked if he would be taking a cognitive test, see what's going on there. And they said no. They said no. The test of his cognitive abilities are his performance as president. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's grueling.
Right. And this is very interesting to me because, remember when Trump was president, there was this like outcry from the left about how Trump is like unhinged, he's mentally unstable, he needs to take a cognitive test. And there was just like this demand for it. And it just seems completely hypocritical and totally BS if Joe Biden, when there is a push, not even just from the right now, but also from, people on the left, for him to take a cognitive test, for him to just hand wave it away and say, no, I'm not going to take a cognitive test. Like, it's like, I mean, there's a real concern here.
Yeah, he's concerned he's not going to get reelected because he's going to fail the cognitive test. What are you talking about? Of course, there's a concern.
Uh-huh.
That cognitive test could come back fail.
Well, no, I'm surprised. I think what Joe Biden should do is he should just get Trump's doctor to give him the cognitive test.
That's a perfect solution.
Isn't it? That guy
Yeah.
that had like Windows 95 still and was like, I gave Trump a cognitive test and he was the smartest human to ever live in human history.
Yeah, exactly.
Get that guy. Just pay that guy off to give a cognitive test and be like, Joe Biden is actually also tied as the smartest human in human history with Donald Trump.
That's a great solution. Is this going to affect him in the election? Despite all the gaslighting I'm getting from everyone who's a Joe Biden supporter?
Yes, this is only going to get worse. This is just after, the report comes out, now the media is actually asking questions. The Daily Show's attacking him. The Daily Show attacking Joe Biden. Okay, the way that things work in politics is that when the emperor doesn't have any clothes, everyone is like afraid to everyone realizes it, but everyone's afraid to make the first move. And then once someone starts chipping away at the dam and the dam starts leaking, then you see like other voices will come out to also break away at the dam. And it's like, it just gets to that breaking point. And so that report was the beginning. That was like all of a sudden there's a massive hole in the dam and water is flowing out. And now you have Jon Stewart comes in and he just punches an even larger hole in the dam about Joe Biden's cognitive abilities. And I really think this is just going to this is the green light for people on the left who actually call into question Biden's cognitive abilities. And I think they'll do it because his polling is so low. They're so afraid that he can't beat Trump. And that's really what so many people on the left just care about. They don't care about Joe Biden as a person. They don't care about his policies. They don't care about him being president. They just want someone that can beat Trump. And they feel like if he can't do it, they're gonna crumple him up into a ball and throw him in the trash can.
Yeah, they want to win. The Democrats want to win. I don't blame them. They want a candidate that can beat Trump in the next election. That's the thing. Biden has so many problems. We should listen to the clip of Peter Zeihan because Peter Zeihan, rather, I'm trying to get it right. Because he's so matter of fact that there's no way in hell that Biden is not going to beat Trump.
Yeah, if you can bring, if you know I don't know what part it is in that conversation, but it is interesting. He's very, very self-assured that Trump cannot win. I don't see it. If that prediction turns out to be true, then I will bow down and say, wow, Peter really knows his stuff a lot better than I do or anyone else I've heard. But I am not confident in that prediction whatsoever, that Trump just can't win because, the moderate voter is just so turned off by the January 6th stuff. I just don't see that as a thing, but. Cameraman 502 for $5 says the complaint about NATO is an old one. Mattis said something similar, though less confrontation about this. Basically, we can't defend you if you won't. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. So there was some other stories I want to talk about that were kind of funny.
Okay. Well, you got the Axios story too.
Oh, okay. You want to talk about that first?
We can. Axios published a interesting story that evidently, they gave Kamala Harris the job of, I don't know, fixing the border, monitoring the border. I'm not exactly sure what
It said she claims that her administration and her responsibilities ended with the factors driving people to why they were leaving Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador.
Okay. So they gave her some task to investigate at the border.
Yeah.
And now the border is turning into a huge liability for Biden now that there's this giant crisis that's affecting his reelection campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And evidently there's some people that are close to Biden that leaked a bunch of information about some meeting that happened on Air Force One where Biden got snippety with everyone about the border. And he asked a bunch of questions. He wanted specific details about the border, and the people in charge couldn't necessarily provide them any details, which makes me think they're not really monitoring the border. They don't really know what's going on the border.
Well, it's interesting. The article says he demanded obscure immigration data points, right? So it's like, what does that mean? What's an obscure immigration data point?
How many people are coming across the border every day?
I don't know. It's weird. It's like, what does that mean? I wish we had specifics here.
We're not the border party. There's no Republicans on Air Force One right now.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you ask us about the border?
Right.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of, go ahead.
Well, I'll say, so yeah, this is very interesting. So this article from Axios, this is again another huge chip away at Biden. It's called Exclusive: How Biden Botched the Border.
Yeah.
And the article is all about how, now again, this is from anonymous sources.
Oh yeah,
who are
yeah,
unnamed. So you know, we always have to take that with the grain of salt that we take any anonymous sources. But they're claiming that essentially what's going on is that everyone in the White House is all pointing fingers at everyone else and every other department and every other secretary as to whose fault it is that the border is so messed up and that they have this big immigration problem. And no one really wants to take responsibility for why there is this massive immigration problem. And this is why this kind of plays into the whole, like, why the deep state isn't real thing. People don't understand how incompetent everyone is, including the government. And it's like, it's just funny to me that there's so many people on the right who are like, listen, there's a conspiracy from Democrats to bring in a bunch of, illegal immigrants so that they can vote for Biden to be president. And then meanwhile, it's like you go to the Biden, inside the White House and they're all yelling at each other because, like, why is the border so fucked up? What did you do? I don't know. You told me. No, I don't know. You told me. Like, nobody knows. Nobody wants to take responsibility. It's like that's so much more clear and seemingly accurate a picture than like the deep conspiracy that they're bringing in illegals to vote for Biden intentionally.
I think it's funny that the blame game is going on outside the party between the Republicans and Democrats, and also inside the Democratic Party, the blame game is also going on. But I just want to say on your deep state comment, the Republicans, the conservatives, whatever you want to call it, the people on the right have done kind of the same thing with deep state as the left has done with racism or systemic racism.
Yes.
That is super infuriating because, we can have a conversation about racism and they'll be like, oh, well, that's not the definition of racism. Racism is about, disparities between, it's this other definition. And technically that exists, right? Well, the right does it with the deep state. So we come out and we say, look, this idea that there's a deep state is laughable. And people have these different definitions. There's a definition of the deep state, which is not laughable. It's very real. Like there is this administrative state, these people that their job continues, even though the administration changes, they have new leadership in their institution, their government institution, but there's 100,000 employees at this institute, Department of Justice or whatever. All 100,000 employees are not going to overturn every time there's an election, right?
Right.
So, but then there is this other deep state, which I'm assuming it's the deep state you're talking about, Sitch, this idea that there is this shadowy elite who really control everything, and nothing happens without these people approving it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the deep state that we're saying is laughable. That doesn't
right.
doesn't really exist. It's just competing interests trying to, get their way. So this article is interesting right here. Rice
domestic policy advisor Susan Rice
but
who's Human Service Secretary Xavier Becerra.
Yeah. Okay. So Rice refers to Becerra as a bitch ass and privately called him an idiot, according to multiple sources. During one meeting when Biden was tearing into Becerra, Rice passed Mayorkas a note that read, "Don't save him," according to two people familiar with the meeting. So they look, this is better than an anonymous source. At least it's two anonymous sources,
There you
right?
go.
That
It's
can
two on. Yeah.
that corroborate the incident.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, look, and we've all had jobs, and a lot of people don't like office politics. A lot of times we're forced to participate in office politics. Like you just see, oh yeah, someone's going after a promotion or something, like, right? We've all seen that.
Yes.
This is that stuff happens in politics probably more than it happens in the office.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very much seems like an office politics type situation, which is what's interesting about it. The border is falling apart and nobody really wants to try to fix it. Biden can't even get his team to actively engage the problem in any sort of realistic way.
Right. And it's interesting. So, I mean, again, according to this article, I'm curious. A lot of people are pointing fingers at Kamala Harris here, or trying to point fingers at Kamala Harris, saying that she hasn't taken her job seriously, that, she's kind of messed up her responsibility with the border stuff. And so everyone's looking, in these situations, and they have to be careful, everyone is looking for a scapegoat to kind of throw under the bus. And so, everyone in the White House team is looking for that person to sacrifice. And I guess the question is like, who's going to get all of the blame, right? Who's because it can't be Biden. It's going to be someone else. They're going to point the finger at someone else. So who's the person they're going to throw to the wolves and say, this is why the border is so messed up?
So I guess Rice was in competition with Kamala Harris for VP. And obviously we know who won that competition.
Is that true?
So there probably is. Yeah, the article talks about it.
Oh, I missed that. That's amazing. Wow.
So there probably is a little bit of bad blood over that exchange.
Well, this, some people had speculated that if Biden drops out, he's going to push forward Harris. If Harris is getting blame for this, okay, if this article is true, and people are claiming, former Biden administration senior official told Axios, Harris has been at best ineffective and at worst sporadically engaged and not seeing it as her responsibility. It's an opportunity for her and she didn't fill the breach. And then there's more complaints about her being inexperienced and just doing a crap job. Like, if that's the tone of these meetings and Harris is getting the blame for this stuff, I mean, there's no chance Biden would point to her to be like the successor.
This is a huge missed opportunity for her because imagine if she was on top of this border stuff and she could come in with a credible plan. I mean, in this situation, he'd be looking good as running when Biden steps aside. If Biden wins a second term, or even next election, if Biden loses, but that's not going to happen because Kamala Harris is more interested in, I don't know, just blabbing at people. She doesn't seem like a policy person to me.
Yeah, and it seems like dizzying levels of incompetence to me that, you have the Biden administration, they're using Title 42 to expel, over 1 million people from the country. And to think that when that goes away, that if you don't replace it with some other mechanism that will allow quick expulsions, obviously you're going to cause the mess that you're in. I don't understand how they could have been so incompetent not to foresee this like super obvious problem from coming. But that's the incompetence. So
I saw some news report too that I sent you where they were talking about 13,000 migrants in Chicago, and they're talking about evicting them from some homeless shelter. And they said that none of these migrants want to work because it jeopardizes their status. It will jeopardize their asylum claim status or their asylum claim court case. So they're hunkering down to be homeless for the next year.
Yeah, if
that's insane.
That is kind of an insane thing. And I'm glad you sent me that article because I didn't even think about that. Because like if you're not allowed to hire someone who's illegal, but the illegal person is in the country waiting for their hearing, which could take however, who knows how long, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are they supposed to do? Then you're basically forcing these people to just be a drain on society's resources. And so
Yes.
that seems like a huge, uh, pothole in this problem that needs to be, fixed, that is going to cause all these issues. So,
Yeah. So all the stuff people on the left tend to say about immigrants being more helpful to society, putting more into the system than they take out, paying taxes, all of that stuff, all of that just goes completely out the window if they can't even get a job because they're worried it's going to interfere with their ability to stay in the country.
right.
It's
Yeah.
no wonder this is such a nightmare.
Yep.
This is such a nightmare scenario that this border crisis is going to be. We're going to be talking about this until the election. And
True.
look, it is kind of brilliant that a lot of the Republicans were instrumental in shipping these people to these sanctuary cities. So
hmm
they've kind of created the perfect storm for Democrats who aren't going to do anything about it.
Libertarian Sasquatch for $5 says deep state used to mean an unelected bureaucratic managerial classes and three-letter agencies that is really fired, not top-down government control. Yeah, no, and I mean that's what Adam was saying, that there were the two versions of it, and like yeah, from the managerial class that kind of just wants to maintain its own um, bureaucracies, function and funding, like that obviously happens and makes sense and is true. But then it gets twisted around into this kind of like top-down control shadow government, or it gets conflated, I guess, with some sort of top-down shadow government control thing, and it just obviously is not what's going on here. So,
Well, it's a lose situation if you even talk about the deep state because people are going to assume the worst no matter what. Like if
right.
they think you're using the term as the managerial class and you're like, the deep state doesn't exist. They're like, oh, you're an idiot. Obviously, the deep state does exist. Well, yeah, it does exist in that state.
Right.
But
right.
then if you say deep state, people are going to assume you mean the conspiracy theory. They're going to be like, you're a conspiracy theorist. You believe in the deep state. Oh,
Right.
So it's just, you can see why Sitch and I don't talk about the deep state much.
Bo Peck for $40. Thank you so much, Boba Peck. Says, hey guys, giving up non-essential phone use for Lent, so I'll be on less. What do you mean? This show is very essential. Okay.
Right.
But thank you. Love the daily episodes though, so keep it up. I've heard the argument that the DNC chose the more delectable candidate in 2016, but Hillary still lost. So I agree with Adam that the DNC picking a rando could totally backfire. Also started listening to the China show guys you mentioned the other day. Shit's wild and totally ignored by the large. There you go. True.
Yeah, no, that's a
By and
great
large,
show. Yeah. Love those
Yeah.
guys.
No, I mean, and I don't know. I don't know if I agree with like the concept that the quote DNC picked Hillary the way that like the Bernie Bros push it. I mean, they're obviously, I think the DNC was biased in favor of Hillary, but I don't think they quote chose her. I think she just, I think more people just voted for her in the primaries. She had a better campaign strategy. And you always hear the Bernie Bros complain about it. They're like, oh, Bloody Tuesday, all those candidates dropped out and supported Hillary. Oh, destroy Bernie. It's like, okay, yeah, that's part of the political strategy that goes into all this stuff. At the time I said I thought Bernie could have defeated Trump. And I don't know, maybe he could have. I'm not sure.
Well,
But
I'm only saying that there's a prominent political narrative out there that if it's untrue, you don't want to play into it optically. And
yes.
this whole, we're just going to decide who the Democratic nominee is, regardless of the fact that everyone voted for someone completely different. That plays into that narrative.
No, I agree,
Yeah.
but no one's going to vote for anyone because most states are not having Democratic primaries at all. So it's going to be weird. It's going to be a
Yeah.
weird election. Whatever happens, whether he drops out or not, it's going to be a weird election. So.
Right. I guess I need to start looking into what exactly happens. The transfer of power thing doesn't
Right.
happen at the convention. What is the drop dead deadline to select a nominee when there is no going
Well, you have to
back?
look at from the DNC's perspective and from the state's perspective. So state's
Right.
perspective is the real deadline.
So, but
Mike-
they're having a primary. It's just Biden. They're giving those states are awarding their electors to Biden.
Well, no. Like, I mean, like, not having a primary in terms of people. I don't believe most states are having people, some of them are, but not all states. I don't think even most states are having people who are registered Democrats show up to vote for Biden to be the candidate. Like, it's just automatic.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
oh, Phil that remains. Hey, Phil. Phil for $20 says, don't call it the deep state ever. Just call it the bureaucracy.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a
I
good
mean,
fix. Yeah.
that's the good fix for like the more accurate depiction of what, the three-letter agencies and various things are doing. And some of that is actually a good stuff. There's good things that happen there, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Mike Bruno for $20 says WCW took Bill Goldberg from wrestling school and made him one of the biggest stars in the world in 7 months. The DNC can build a new POTUS candidate in 9 if they want to. We'll see. We will see, I guess.
Well,
I mean,
I think
they'll try.
This is why they had Gavin Newsom do the debate with Ron DeSantis.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, I agree sort of in terms of if Biden drops out and officially endorses Gavin Newsom or somebody, there's going to be a huge media blitz. You're going to see like the most media of media blitz ever, where everyone's going to be trumpeting from the heavens on the mainstream media and the left about how he's like the best fucking candidate ever, how he's literally God's chosen gift to the world, right? You're going to see this huge shift towards them. So I definitely think they're going to try.
Well, and this is why I think he did the debate with Ron DeSantis, because they're going to heavily pull clips from that debate. They're going to be like, this just happened. It's going to be like, that just happened yesterday. Like, not a lot of people watch that debate, obviously. We watched it because we're political junkies, but everyone is going to discover that debate as if it happened yesterday. And they're going to be like, look, he's an amazing candidate. Ron DeSantis is a white supremacist who wants to take away your right to choose.
There you go.
Look at this guy. He destroyed him. He utterly annihilated him. They're going to carry Gavin Newsom, on their shoulders.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I keep saying Newsom instead of Newsom. Is it Newsom or Newsom?
It's Newsom.
Newsom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gavin Newsom.
With an M, not an M.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Newsom.
Caleb for $5 says the GOP gearing up the vote on Mayorkas impeachment for border. It's not going to pass. They should just work on the bill. Yeah. Okay. So that's going to lead into the next story I want to talk about. Which, first of all, yes, the whole trying to impeach Mayorkas thing is just a completely pointless virtue signal, because it's obviously not going to pass at all. So it's just a complete fucking waste of time.
That's head of Homeland Security, right? The Republicans tried to impeach him.
Yes, for not enforcing border correctly or something. Yeah.
Well, look, he's let the homeland be invaded.
Okay, you could. But the question is it his fault, right? Number one, is it because he's personally not, enforcing laws that he's supposed to enforce, or is it just that the Biden administration has crafted policy that's really awful and doesn't really fix the problem? Because I think it's the latter. I don't think it's Mayorkas' personal fault.
Yeah, that's the problem. Obviously, the narrative on the right is that this is only a problem because people have chosen not to enforce the laws that we have. We don't need any new laws. All the laws are there. If they just enforce the laws we had, this would go away. Democrats soft on crime. Trump 2024.
Right.
That's like the narrative.
That would only be true if there was a massive funding increase to build all the facilities required to house all these people and to hire all the judges required to do all this stuff. Otherwise, then you just literally can't enforce the law because there's not enough funding to enforce the laws, right? So it just seems silly to me. So obviously there's just a bad policy, a bad system in place that needs to be changed, and that's like the real thing here. And I feel like when I hear Republican Congress people talk about how, well, no, there's the laws are in place, they just need Biden to enforce them. To me, what that signals is that the Republicans just don't want to, or anyone in Congress just doesn't want to take responsibility. It's all the finger pointing about whose fault it is for the border, and they just want to just do nothing essentially in Congress about it. Speaking of doing nothing about it in Congress, so remember how when the Senate came up with their border bill, that had all the border control stuff that we talked about last week, but then it also had foreign aid to Ukraine and Israel built into it. And
I
some of the
do.
people in our audience and some of the people on the right on the internet were talking about how disgusting it was that why are they trying to tie in border security to foreign aid funding? Like, shouldn't these things be separate? Remember, we heard this like a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah. Even though it was a Republican's idea.
Yeah, so the Senate passed a bill. They said, okay, we'll separate the issue. We're going to make a border thing and we'll have the foreign aid thing. And so the Senate passed just a bill that was just about foreign aid to Ukraine and Israel. And what did Mike Johnson, the leader of the Republican Party in the House, say? He said, well, I don't even know if I'm going to call this bill to be voted on in the House because they didn't put any border policy in the bill.
Yeah. How dare you?
This is so stupid. There's this big complaint. Like, why are they putting these two things together? And then when they separate them, they say, well, we can't vote on this because you didn't put the two things together. It's total bullshit. This to me just really shows that how so much of what's going on here has nothing to do with policy or ideology. It's just we want to not pass anything whatsoever because we're afraid that passing anything will help Joe Biden's chances of winning the election, or the Democrats, whoever becomes that candidate, winning the election.
Oh, look, Anna Kasparian's in our chat. What's up, Anna?
Hey, Anna. But yet, it's just so, to me, it's just such an obvious showing that it's just all political. It's all just trying to game the system here. And it annoys me that people won't see that. Like, it's so obvious. I saw people were applauding. They were applauding Mike Johnson, saying, "Oh, he's not doing this because he doesn't want to fund those wars." That's like, okay, listen, if you don't want to fund those wars, that's fine. That's not what Mike Johnson said. He didn't say that they weren't going to put it to a vote because they don't want to fund the wars. He's saying, I'm not going to put it to a vote until they put border policy into the bill again.
Yeah. I mean, why are we even going here? This is round 2, right? This is the ultimate, okay, we're looping now.
Yes.
It's like this came up already. The Democrats have wanted to get this funding passed for Ukraine and Israel, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Republicans step up and say, hey, we need to do something about the border, and we're not going to do your spending bill unless we get some border. They cook up an entire border security plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they tie it, and then the bill dies.
Yes.
And now we're back to square one again, right?
Yeah, now we just looped again. You're right.
Right.
It's
what's happening here?
It's top tier gaslighting. It's like,
what is happening here? What is happening? Are we going to go through the cycle again?
Yes.
Okay, put the border security back in. Okay, do it. Look, Sitch and I both think, why not vote for the border security stuff? The status quo is sure as hell not working now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's better than nothing. It's obviously better than nothing, even if you don't think it goes far enough, which I agree. I don't think it goes far enough, but it's better than nothing.
There's 13,000 homeless people in Chicago that are all migrants who crossed the border that aren't getting jobs for a year.
Yep.
Can you imagine? It's a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is. So, but it's annoying. People don't want to see it for what's actually going on here. See the political tactics as just being the pure gamesmanship, as opposed to like everyone buys into some sort of ideological narrative here. Like, oh no, they're just because they don't believe in the bill, Adam. They just don't believe in the bill. It's like, okay, sure.
Yeah. They know what excuses. They know what magic words they can say that gets them out of voting for that.
Right.
Or voting for anything.
Right.
I mean, maybe they were just saying that the first run through, and then, well, no, because they actually had a GOP senator that was the one that cooked up all those solutions.
Well, it really sucks.
Kind of mad that he didn't get it passed.
It sucks for that guy too, because that guy from Oklahoma, Langford, I think his name is. He was assigned to do that role by Mitch McConnell. He didn't even it's not like he volunteered. He's like, you go do this. And then he goes and does it. And he's like, comes out with a pretty I think a pretty good compromise on the border. And then it's like, no, it's an amnesty bill. You're a fucking communist. It's like, oh my God.
How do you feel
That,
about wasting your time, Sitch, when you've done a
well,
bunch of work and
but see, that process is actually very important. That process shows you why nothing gets done in political organizations or even businesses, because you have someone is assigned to a very important role, like fixing the border. Okay. And they come up with a policy. And if the politics of the time commands that one party not support that policy, it puts that person who's assigned to that position as like in the kill slot, even though they didn't do anything wrong themselves. They're going to be deemed as the traitor just for doing the thing that they were assigned to do. And it's like it sucks and that's why no one wants to take responsibility. That's why so many politicians, if you want to complain about how politicians don't take responsibility, this is why. Because they're so afraid that they're going to do something and then their party's going to turn against them and they're going to get the target paint on their back. And they're either going to have to come out against it and look like a cuck, or they're going to have to defend themselves in their work and they're going to get labeled a traitor.
Anna's trashing Vosh in our chat, so it's hard for me to pay attention. I'm sorry, but the chat is like unanimously Anna the Queen. It's pretty hilarious. So.
Yeah, the whole.
But anyway, that's fun.
The whole
reader chat.
I was gonna say the whole Vosh being caught looking at a CP and horse cartoon porn really, brings a different view on him attacking other people, including Anna, and calling them like bad people and calling them horrible.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
This is a guy who's like, downloading, not just looking at it, but downloading this kind
and
of
saving, saving to his computer.
Right. And you're like, you were criticizing me for this? Okay,
Yeah, exactly. He's not exactly the arbiter of morality that the left needs.
No, exactly. So
yes, he attacked Anna for wanting to be called a woman, not a birthing person.
Right.
I also recalled that he attacked J.K. Rowling for wanting to protect children.
Right.
Ironic.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point. Yeah, that's it. I guess that's why he doesn't want to protect children.
Ironic.
It's not good. Not a good look, Vosh. So anyway, there's another story I want to talk about, which was this is a political article that came out, and it's called "White House Frustration with Garland Grows." Now, this is Attorney General Merrick Garland. Are you still laughing about?
Well, now Shu's in the chat. It's like,
hey, Shu.
Everyone has come to visit.
Everyone has come to shit on Vosh. Anyway, so Attorney General Merrick Garland. Okay, this is top guy. Now the reporting is that Joe Biden is very upset with his Attorney General because he's the one that tapped that guy, her, to write the report that basically said that Biden is like mentally incompetent. Number one.
Oh no. So now he's in big trouble, right?
Right. But then also that supposedly Biden is mad that he didn't censor the report, which apparently he had the power to do. Okay.
What? You're gonna drop that report with a bunch of redacted black lines on it? That's not gonna be suspicious at all.
Well, so here's the interesting thing, right? So you have Biden's own attorney general, is not his puppet, right? He's doing something that directly hurts Biden. Now I pointed to this and I said, look, this is further evidence against the concept of the deep state.
Right. The conspiratorial deep state, not
the conspiratorial one, right? Because it shows that that the attorney general, that Garland, he just believes that he's supposed to be doing his job according to his capacity and not just be basically the foot soldier of Biden, the same way that Bill Barr, towards the end of the Trump term wasn't being Trump's stooge, was saying, no, I have to do what I think is the correct thing to do. And so, but people respond to me saying, no, Sitch, you don't understand. This shows a deep state because Garland is actually taking deeper orders from the deeper deep state, which wants Biden out of office because they think that he can't win the election. Okay. That's the argument,
This
right?
is like this is like the levels of hell for Dante, right?
Right. Yeah,
Now we're
exactly.
in the deeper state.
The deeper state, right. So
Okay.
I was reading this article, but it's very interesting because this article kind of destroys that narrative too, because Biden isn't just mad at Garland for what just happened recently. He's actually been mad at Garland for a couple, like his entire administration. And for two key reasons. Number one, he feels, well, first of all, number one, he's mad at all the prosecution against his own son, according to this article.
What? Oh,
Okay.
wow. Wow. Okay.
Right. And he's basically, according to this article, was seeming to be mad at how long the probe into his son has gone, and the fact, and that he thinks that the stress of the legal probe is going to make his son go back to doing drugs. And
I wish you would have sent me this article. It sounds amazing.
yeah, he said Biden. I'll read it to you. Last year, Biden privately denounced how long the probe into his son was taking, telling aides and outside allies that he believed the stress could send Hunter Biden spiraling back into addiction, according to the same two people. As the elder Biden, the people said, told those confident that Garland should not have eventually empowered a special counsel to look into his son, believing that he again was caving to outside pressure. Okay.
Wow.
So that's a big complaint he's had. And then the second big complaint he's had is that Biden has been mad that he thinks Garland has not been aggressive enough or has slow walked the investigations against Donald Trump in terms of,
Right.
bringing in the court cases against him.
So this is the exact same thing Donald Trump was doing with his attorney general.
Yes. Isn't it? Isn't that hilarious? And so, yeah, it's very fascinating. So, but to me, okay, if this is true, this again completely destroys the deeper state narrative, because even if you believe the deeper state narrative, which is anti-Donald Trump, then Garland would have been gung-ho to go after Trump from day one, and he wouldn't have been going after Hunter Biden, last year, 2 years ago, before the concern about getting Biden out of the election, out of the race, was even a thing.
Yeah, Garland is doing the same exact thing that Trump's attorney general did.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is why I bristle when people talk about tearing down all the institutions. Okay. You need not just institutions, but people that are staffing that institution, the bureaucracy that actually believes in the stated goal of the institution. Because you want people like Garland here, or Barr, near the end of the Trump presidency, who believe in the idea of what the Attorney General office is supposed to be doing.
Yeah, they
and
want to
believe
protect their institution's reputation.
Yes, they want to protect the institution, the idea of America, the idea of justice in America, and the idea of what the Attorney General in America is supposed to be doing. Because if you don't have that, if you don't have a belief in the institution and the concept that the institution represents, then that usually means that you're just going to be believing and doing whatever your boss tells you to do because you want to, get promoted. You want to move up in the world, right? And if that was the case, then that's how you get the stooges and the toadies who just do whatever the president wants. And you don't want that. So that's why I don't like when people just talk about how, like, all institutions are evil. We should just tear all the institutions down, blah, 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 blah. That leads us down this pathway where you have no alternative but to listen to essentially the strongman leader, dictate all the terms that we have to follow.
Right. People are worried about institutional corruption, but they are conceptualizing that institutional corruption as the president tells Merrick Garland to do whatever he wants and he does it, or Trump tells Barr to do whatever Trump wants and Barr does it. Those things didn't really happen, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess people on the right are perceiving of the institutional corruption as the institution itself. The higher ups at that institution are fighting against the people, the elected leaders of their particular party. That's the way they conceive of it.
Yeah. Well, it's all outcome determinant.
Right.
So if you have an institution and it does something and the outcome is something you don't like, then therefore the institution must be evil and corrupt. Like that's the way that most people just perceive it from a very simplistic level.
Yeah.
So.
I found an article here. Should we be worried? It says Attorney General Merrick Garland to undergo surgery. Justice
Wow.
Department says, yeah.
I didn't know that. Look at
If
that.
Merrick Garland dies on the operating table here,
Then the conspiracy is true. They took him out.
should we? Look, what's he going in for? Is it a lobotomy? How deep does this
Oh, this
run?
was like 2 weeks ago. Did he? I think he already did it.
Oh, maybe he's already done. Okay,
yeah.
good.
It says he was undergoing
safe.
back surgery.
All right, good.
So there you go. So he should be okay.
I just want to make sure the deep state isn't after
I'm not
him.
gonna get him. Yeah. Mr. Ubercross, thank you so much for the 20 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Mr. Ubercross, the unofficial Sitch and Adam lawyer.
Yes.
Lawyer of the show. Drew Dogman for $2 says, I sent you an article on the 64 actions that hurt the border. Yeah, I actually looked through that article that you sent, Drew. And at one point I was thinking that maybe we do a video through the whole article, but I was like, no, that would just take too long. But I did look through it, and I think it was Mike Johnson or someone else had crafted this list of like the 64 actions that Biden did to hurt the border. And I will say this, with the exception of Title 42, revoking Title 42, and the Remain in Mexico thing, even though I think that was Remain in Mexico was a good idea, but it didn't have enough slots to work. With the exception of those two policies, almost everything else on that list seemed to be sort of bullshit. When I looked through all the claims, they didn't really seem to be substantive in terms of actually creating the policy, or with actually hurting the border. So, which is fine. I mean, you don't need 62 reasons; you just need one. And I think, again, the main culprit is Title 42 going away and not being replaced by anything that would quickly expel people. So, that's the real culprit here. You don't need like a big long list for it, but
yeah, if you don't expel people right away, if you let them in the country for a court date that's anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, and they can't get a job,
right? Yeah.
because it will threaten their court case.
The not getting a job. I'm so glad you brought that article, because I didn't even think about that, because we see article after article about how like there are cities that are giving these illegal immigrants waiting for their asylum hearings, they're giving them money, and you're like, why are they giving them money? And I didn't even think, well, because they literally can't work. That's the like that's it. So, but what do you do in that scenario? Should there be temporary abilities to allow these people to work? Or does that just make it worse, because then it kind of like makes it so they're dug more into the system when they probably are going to get deported back anyway?
Yeah. Look, this is why they should pass the bill and just instant deport them.
Right.
Why are we even dealing with this? Well, we're dealing with this because
politics.
Yeah, look, the Republicans really are to blame here, are they not?
Well,
There's a
they're
bill
to
on
blame.
the table, and they could
Mhm.
vote for it, and this could solve the problem immediately, but they want the problem to run on in the 2024 election. How is that
Right.
not the Republicans?
Yeah, the original fault for the problem existing is Democrats, and then the fault for not attempting to fix the problem, I would say, is the Republicans' fault. So listen,
Right.
it's like the perfect political compromise. Both parties came together to help create a situation and make it worse.
Yeah.
It's America. I love it.
I hate this because there's so many people who hate democracy, and these are the only kinds of things that give that argument credibility.
True. That's a good point. Yeah.
So those people need to step up and say, what is the alternative?
Right. Thank you so much, TB, for your first ever donation for the 50 rons. 50 rons. Look, that's Romanian currency, I believe. Says, hit like or else. Love the daily shorter streams, by the way. S-Class is best team. Well, thank you.
Are we all caught up on Super Chats?
I missed two at the top. Jackarama for 18 months says, wow, I'm glad you guys are starting early. My girlfriend and I have early Valentine's Day fondue plans, so now I can catch most of the stream. Well, that's awesome. I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, fondue. Wow.
Fondue is always lots of fun. It always saddens me. Well, listen, on the very rare occasions I do it, I just take tons of lactate pills, but doing fondue is always a lot of fun.
You do the same. That's what I do with shellfish.
Yeah, but there's a difference. Okay. So if I go to a fondue place, so you've never been to a fondue place assuming what they're talking about. There's like these places, they have these little heating apparatuses in the middle of the table. There's a little pot, and then they'll bring some kind of flavor of cheese on the table, and then you like order things that you can dip in the cheese, and it tastes like amazing. Okay.
Yeah, fondue is like a cheese sauce that you dip things in.
Right. Really
Yeah.
good. A lot of fun. Definitely a great thing to take a girl on a date on. Every girl loves cheese. Okay. It's just like a fact. Every girl loves fatty cheese. Um, but so if I take a bunch of lactate pills and I eat that stuff, if I haven't had a lot of dairy recently, I can usually do pretty okay. The worst case scenario is, I'm gonna be on a toilet for a couple hours, right? The next day.
Terrible.
Or that night, right?
I can't. It's such a cheese is so delicious, Sitch. You're missing out.
Right. Okay. The difference is so my bad outcome is I'm going to be in the toilet for a couple hours. Okay. When you eat shellfish, your bad outcome is death.
Yeah, I have a heart attack, but you know,
Your bad outcome is you can't breathe or you have eyeball bubbles,
chest
or
pain,
something.
eye blisters.
Yeah. You have like some horrific response. So I don't think it's fair to compare you almost dying and getting eyeball blisters from eating from a tiny scrap of shellfish to me having to take a big poop for 2 hours.
None of it has killed me yet, and lobster is delicious. Let's be honest here.
Okay.
Lobster is so good.
Lobster is listen, I love shellfish. I love lobster. I love shrimp. I love crab. I love all shellfish. I'm a huge shellfish fan. Okay. But it's not worth dying for.
Oh,
So it's just a little different.
okay. Point taken.
Okay.
I'm still gonna do it.
The Chad Father for 16 months says, regarding your commentary on Glenn Greenwald on Sunday, I agree and would expand to say that the anti-Americanism is a core tenet of the Democratic media establishment.
Is
I
it?
don't know if I agree with that. Like it exists sort of. It only in the mainstream media establishment, the Democrat media establishment, the anti-Americanism exists to an extent. It exists to the extent at which that they can say that America is racist, that they can say that Republicans bad, and you can make an argument, which I would agree with, that attitude is what allows, like, gets inculcated in our culture, and that attitude opens the doorway and allows the further America bad left-wing narrative to sneak in, and that 100% happens. But it's still it's still different than sort of like the Glenn Greenwald America bad narrative from the left, which is just, all-encompassing America is the evil empire, blah, blah, blah. Because even the Democrat media establishment, you'll find, generally seems to be, they were pro, Ukraine and, pro helping Israel, at least at first. So.
Yeah, they seem in favor of capitalism as well. They don't seem as anti-capitalist. I do remember Joy Reid confronting one of the CRT people about whether or not critical race theory was Marxist.
Kimberly Crenshaw, yeah.
Yeah, Kimberly Crenshaw. And she was very you could tell Joy Reid thought Marxism was laughable.
Yes.
Which gives you the impression that, Joy Reid, as much as she wants to use racism to hit the Republicans with, as much as she thinks every single Republican is a cruel, greedy racist, she doesn't necessarily mind the capitalism so bad.
Of course.
Why would she? I mean, she's at the pinnacle of the capitalist elite, right? She's got a job. She probably makes at least 6 figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
If not 7 figures a year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, why is she going to be anti-capitalist? But Kimberly Crenshaw, who lives on a academic salary, right? Of course she's a Marxist.
That interview is one of my favorite interviews I've ever seen, just because not only is it clear that Joy Reid thinks the idea of Marxism is a joke, she thinks the idea that CRT has anything to do with Marxism is a joke.
Is a joke. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And she asked this question to Kimberly. This is the first question she asked Kimberly Crenshaw, and she's laughing when she's asking it.
She perceives it as a softball.
Yes. Yeah. She thinks she's lobbing her the easy home run softball. And Kimberly Crenshaw laughs in response and gives a very long answer that doesn't answer the question.
Right.
She doesn't address whether it's Marxism or not. She just kind of like says, well, let me tell you what CRT is actually about. But she doesn't say it's not Marxism. And it's so funny because after she gives her like 60-second answer, where she doesn't answer the question, Joy Reid doesn't understand what's happening, still thinks that it was just a bad answer. And so she asks the same question again about Marxism, and Kimberly Crenshaw again dodges. And that's maybe then when Joy Reid realizes that she should move on.
Right.
So
that's when she realizes her friend's a Marxist.
right. But see, that to me, really shows, well, obviously Joy Reid is a person of very low moral character just because, remember when she got attacked because she had made homophobic comments on her blog, like in 2005 or whatever, like 20
I
years
do
ago.
remember. Yeah, exactly.
And
And she claimed she was hacked.
yeah, she, instead of just saying, listen, it was 2005 or whenever it was, different time, I should
The
have said
entire
things.
black community is homophobic.
Yeah, right.
I'm
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, she's like, no, someone went back in time and hacked my old blogs. And you're just like, oh my God, are you fucking for real? Really? Someone went back in time and hacked your blog. Like, it's such an obvious lie, such a disgustingly obvious lie. And everyone just let her skate on it because, I guess that's fine.
Yeah, the easiest thing in the world for Taylor Lorenz to uncover, the easiest lie for her.
Yes.
But of course she's not going to do it because, know.
But so, and the reason I bring that up is because when Joy Reid was asking Kimberly Crenshaw this, these Marxist questions, the fact that she asked her twice and didn't answer twice, if she was like a real journalist with integrity, that would have tipped her off to be like, why are you not answering this question?
Yeah.
And kept pressing on it, being like, well, wait a minute, why are you hesitant to answer this question directly? And if she
can't
did
do it.
Well, no, because if she had done that and exposed something like that on TV, that maybe CRT does have the Marxist, does come from a place of Marxism, is based and rooted in that would completely have destroyed the entire left-wing narrative at the time that interview happened, which was, the right is all crazy for going after CRT. It's a conspiracy. It's just about teaching Black history. The right is racist, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, she would have proved the right correct.
Yes. Would have
in
lost
front of her entire audience who hates the right.
Yes.
And she would have lost all credibility because she's been saying forever that, that's why she asked the question.
Yep.
Fascinating.
Lemur Wrench for $4. Thank you. Says something I think you guys failed to consider when discussing whether Trump or Biden would refuse to debate each other is that currently RFK Jr. is polling well enough to qualify for the debates, meaning that if only one of Biden or Trump refuses, there's still a debate between the other and RFK Jr., which seems like only a bad thing for the no-show. So I think that will serve as a disincentive.
That is a great point that I had not considered. Yeah. RFK is dying to debate.
That is an interesting point. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Well, I wonder though. So let's say like hypothetically Trump wants to debate and Biden doesn't want to debate. So Biden refuses. But then RFK says, I'll debate you, Trump. Is Trump going to accept that? Or is he just going to say, I'm not going to debate? Why the fuck would I waste my time debating RFK?
Maybe.
It's hard to tell because on one hand, I understand the optics of it is like, it looks bad for the no-show, which I agree with. It makes whoever doesn't show up look bad. But on the other hand, it opens up like the other person, whoever shows up, whether Trump or Biden is the only one that shows up against RFK, all it's really doing is opening up an avenue that they could get attacked from in the debate and get weakened. So I'm not sure it would it'd be strategically smart for them to actually accept the debate with RFK.
It is definitely a calculation that they're going to consider.
Yes.
A lot of times these campaigns, they have tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to invest in these campaigns. And they do all kinds of testing before they really do anything.
Right.
So a lot of times they do ads that are tested. The super PACs are not supposed to coordinate with the campaigns. So I don't know that the super PACs do this kind of stuff, but the campaigns generally have a good idea of what is a good move and what is not a good move through focus testing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would now, if it wasn't RFK, if it was someone else, I'd be more inclined to think that they wouldn't take the debate. But since it is RFK and he has such difficulty speaking, even if he's saying things that people like,
He's gonna lose.
yeah, like because it's RFK specifically, and he has such that speech problem, which obviously is not his fault. He has that, I forget what it's called, that thing where your vocal cords get paralyzed. Um, it's I would wager that the calculation would actually be in favor of the candidate accepting the debate and doing it because they're just going to win and it's going to make the person look who didn't show up like really, really bad. So that is a good point to bring up, and that could play a factor here. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I should say that since Anna Kasparian was in the chat earlier, that Anna hosts the Young Turks on Wednesday by herself. She produces a show and does a show by herself. It's really great. You guys should check it out. So Wednesday
Definitely.
is my favorite day of the week.
The
to watch
best show,
Young
the
Turks.
best day for the Young Turks right there.
Well, look, I have disagreements with Jank. Anna does push back on Jank a lot, which I really like and I think makes for better content. So I do listen to the Young Turks, if not every day, almost every day. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a great show. You guys should check out.
TB, thank you so much for the 10 gifted memberships. Thank you. Cyborg for $10 says, my friend is an asylum seeker who can't work. He still hasn't found out what his court date is, and he's been here since April of last year. He had to commit identity theft to obtain a social security number to work. That's insane. Holy shit, Cyborg. That's crazy. This is the problem, right? You have this massive backlog, and then the people they literally have to commit a crime in order to get a fucking job. How like insane is this?
Yeah, and this is the thing. As soon as if that comes to light in the asylum seeker court case, it's like an immediate dismissal.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't want to take that risk.
I mean, people aren't going to like this, but I think that definitely while people are here, if they're already here waiting, okay, because you haven't changed the law yet to have them get, quickly decided on. If they're already here waiting, they should 100% be able to work, because otherwise, if they can't, then it's just going to be a drain on public resources, because you're going to have to basically have the public fund them to exist, or they're going to be homeless or something, which is going to make everyone's lives worse. So, well, yeah, that's a huge problem.
Just what you want to import into your city, right? A huge homeless population who basically has, yeah. It's not good.
It is a huge problem. Wow, that's so crazy. JMac, our circuit father, Daddy JMac, for $20. Thank you so much. Says, my wife and kids always do fondue for Valentine's Day too. Wow, this is a great idea. How did I forget about this? I have to get extra lobster because my daughter always steals mine. And there's more to fondue than just cheese. There's a place here called the Melting Pot that is so good. Oh yeah, so they have melting pots in Florida too. And so the first,
this is
well,
like
the
a
first
fondue
course,
place.
it's a chain, yeah, Melting Pot.
Wow. Okay.
And they have them in South Florida as well. I didn't know they existed outside South Florida. And they have 3 courses or 4 courses if you get dessert. They have this amazing Caesar salad. I don't know what the fuck they do to this salad. They put these like roasted pine nuts in it that just taste so good. And then you have the cheese course, which you put like bread or like apples or like little chunks or whatever. And then the dinner course, they replace the cheese with you get like a broth or an oil, and they give you meat, and then you cook the meat in it, and it's really tasty. And then the last course, they bring out a melted chocolate bowl, and then you dip stuff in the chocolate. Yeah, so no, it's super good.
Chocolate fondue,
right? Super delicious, super delicious. So fondue's a good idea. That's a great idea. Anyone looking to take a girl out on Valentine's Day, or a boy? Gavatron for 7 Canadian says, if Biden undid the border plan when he got into office, why can't he just put it back into place? So if you check back last week, I don't remember what day it was. Like I kind of went through the whole thing, the whole truth of the matter.
Happy birthday.
What's happening?
we're gonna watch the Deadpool Wolverine official teaser before
the shit out of me. But anyway,
in the show.
okay. but so last week, I think the stream was titled like the truth about Biden remain in Mexico or something. Kind of went through the whole thing. And so there were some elements of the border thing that Biden paused or changed or whatever, and they had some effect on the thing. But again, if we look at the numbers, which we brought up on that stream, the overwhelming majority, Biden administration was deporting millions of people under Title 42. And this was Title 42 was using the COVID excuse essentially to quickly deport people from the country who had not shown up legally. And then that went away because the health emergency ended in 2023. And that's when everything kind of spiraled out of control. So it was really Title 42 going away that caused all this. And then when Title 42 went away, the Biden team replaced it with something that didn't do enough. That wasn't a proper policy that actually fixed the problem. So, but check it out. We talked about it last week. Erebus, the trustworthy, for $10 says, Anna, please come on. Forget A-Team. The Queen reigns supreme.
Look,
There
Anna's
you go.
taking over.
There you go.
Anna's welcome to come on the Sunday show anytime she wants. And
She's welcome to come on any show that she wants.
Yeah,
Whenever
look, she's hosting a show later today.
I know. I'm assuming she's getting ready to do her own show.
Yeah. So Monday through Friday, she's working at the Young Turks. So I think it might be difficult. Like, if she wants to come on, she can come on whenever she wants, as Sitch says. But the Sunday show, she's wanted to come on, and I just have not really been looking at my DMs. So I missed it. And, I'll invite her on occasionally. So look, it's her day off.
Right.
There's always this thing with creators. It's like, everyone always wants them to go on the show, but it is kind of a commitment to go on a show.
Right.
I mean, Sitch and I both know this as creators, right?
As creatives
who are like lazy and don't really want to go.
Exactly. Don't you hate when you hear someone refer themselves as a creative? I know you said creator, but it was like as a create. Like that's what the second thought said. He's like, as a creative. You're like, oh God. Please stop.
This is like, I mean, that's the term that a lot of people use in the industry, obviously.
I know, it's the worst.
Yeah. It's like, it's better than above the line and below the line talent, right?
That's hyper fucking like
talk about the hierarchy, right?
Yeah. Boba Peck for $20. Thank you, Boba Peck, so much. Says still behind. Don't call it the bureaucracy. Call it the man. I thought Hillary won because of superdelegates, but it's been a long time since I looked at it. Why don't primaries allow for votings for all party candidates? So, if I recall correctly, it also has been a while for me. I believe she won regardless of superdelegates. That was my memory. So,
Hillary did?
Yeah, I know she had all the superdelegates in the bag, so people were saying it doesn't matter because she's going to win anyway. But I believe she won regardless of superdelegates. Though I think in response to that, the DNC passed new policy where the superdelegates are essentially ceremonial now, unless of course we had the Biden situation, but they're ceremonial now in terms of that I think they have to vote for whoever wins the Democratic primary before they actually vote. So that's kind of interesting. That situation did change the DNC policy.
She was also welcome on the show anytime, so she knows that as well. Yeah, and Sammy G, look, she can come on the show whenever she wants, right?
There you go. Of course.
Sammy's already like Anna privilege in the chat.
There you go.
We've invited you on, Sammy, straight out of the chat. What are you talking about?
Right.
We've invited a lot of people on.
That's true.
Vanessa is probably going to come on later in the week, and we're going to get Christian Baller on sooner or later as well. So I think we're just going to do, like, Sitch and I want to do 3 or 4 stories and then, read super chats. And obviously while we're reading super chats, it's a good time we can invite someone on just to hang out for a bit. Did you watch this Deadpool trailer? It's actually pretty good. So
I did, but let me finish this though. Let me read this.
Look at this. You're very devoted to
I am. I'm very devoted to people sending us money. But so why don't primaries allow for voting for all parties candidates? I mean,
Some do. Some states
they
do have open primaries.
well, yeah, they can't. Well, no, why don't primary? They do. I mean, we don't have a primary. It's up to the DNC or the RNC in terms of who they're allowing, I think, to be on the ballot. I don't know if a candidate can just decide to run for the Democrats or Republicans against the DNC or RNC's wishes and appear on a ballot under the DNC or Republican, Democrat or Republican label. I think they have to have permission from the
Oh,
organization.
you're saying once they get to the general election, or are you talking about the
I know he's talking about in the primaries.
yeah,
So
in the
like
primary? Go
no,
ahead.
no, no. But what I'm saying is, so if the DNC says we're not having a primary, Biden is just going to be the nomination. I don't know if RFK can appear on the ballot as a Democratic candidate in a state. I don't know the answer to that question. That
He's
makes
already
sense?
running. Yeah, he's running as an independent.
Right.
When they get on the ballot, when they apply to be on the ballot, they designate what party they are. So that's all
Yeah, but I'm
taken care of
assuming
before they actually get on the
right.
ballot.
But I'm assuming you have to have the party's permission. I don't think anyone can just run for whatever party they want.
Yeah, because was running. Remember, Cenk was running for president as a Democrat.
Oh, okay.
He
Did he have to?
actually
Mhm.
sued, or I don't know if he sued or just challenged the commission to get on the ballot, and they denied him ballot access as a Democrat. I don't know if that was I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was a Democratic. Well,
Hmm.
no, it was the election commission. So I don't know that the election commission cares if he wants to be on the ballot as a Democrat or a Republican.
Okay, then I don't know.
Yeah, I
Then.
don't know about that stuff.
Right.
So
Okay.
I'm
Maybe.
assuming anyone who wants access, because Dean Phillips got on a bunch of ballots too as a Democrat, even though the Democrats didn't want him to run. So yeah, no, I think you can get on in the primary as a Democrat, as long as you're a registered Democrat. That would be my guess.
Okay. Edward Sr. in the chat says the superdelegates, if I recall correctly, the superdelegates have to vote the primary results of the first 2 rounds. After that, they can go their own way. I don't know if it's changed. Oh, that could be true. Learn for learn for 500 Kazarks. Thank you so much. Says about your recent talk about post-liberalism. I recently went through basic and now serve in the Sitch version of the National Guard. Well, congratulations. The 5 weeks we spent mostly without internet, tired, sleep deprived, and stressed were some of the best times any of us have ever had.
Yeah,
There
that's
you
like
go.
real human bonding,
Yes.
which is so much superior to
Yep.
internet human bonding.
Yeah, well, there's a magical thing that happens, which a lot of people and probably have never experienced. I've experienced it because I've been in Boy Scouts, and you experienced it because you went through basic training, which is a much more severe version of obviously anything I went through Boy Scouts, where putting a group of people, especially boys, putting a group of young men or boys through a period of intense physical activity where they have to bond with another unit of young boys gives them a very fulfilling emotional experience that I don't think you can get from really anywhere else.
Yeah.
And a lot of young men in our society have never actually probably experienced that. So,
Yeah, you immediately bond into a team. You start
yes.
working together.
Yeah.
Start really trying to help one another. Very satisfying.
True. Bubble Pack for $5 says, did you guys hear about Putin putting Estonia's president on their wanted list?
I did not. No.
I heard about it, but I didn't look into it or anything. I just heard a story about it. I was like, that's weird.
To see if it's true.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw that I don't know why. I don't know the backstory. I just saw it, so that's weird. I'll look into it maybe. It's very bizarre. Lover of Green for $10 says, sorry about the Koof super chat I left last week. I'm just done with journalists who refuse to let 2020 go. They spam my feed with endless Fauci nonsense, which is in no way reflect current reality. Well, there you go. You have to apologize. But yeah, I mean, it is annoying still. It's kind of ridiculous in 2020. People still be going on about this. So,
well, people feel that they were tangibly harmed
right
by the pandemic and they want a pound of flesh. So, I mean, I get that. That's human nature to want to get even. So I don't think it's healthy. That's why I say you should forgive.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should
Both
forgive them and
sides.
move on. Yeah.
The people that are still obsessed with it for like it's oh my God, it's such like the most dangerous thing ever, and people are still obsessed with it like it was all, fraudulent. So
Yeah. Look.
you shouldn't let go in terms of like we should get to the bottom of, why the response was bad. If the response was bad, was it really China, a lab leak or some kind of potential weaponized thing? Like we should obviously get to the bottom of all that stuff because that's all important fact claims in terms of determining our future behavior. So.
Sitch got the jab and it made one of his balls fall off. So I mean, he should really, if anyone's pissed, it should be Sitch. But
That's true, but you didn't say what the follow-up was though.
What's that? Another one grew back.
I grew 2 more.
Oh, nice! Look,
now I have 3. So it's
Look.
like extra fertile.
3 ball Sitch over here.
There you go.
Perfect.
Radically milk toast for $10 says, "Damn, Sitch will be MIA for Valentine's using all the super chats for his special lady." That's right. Your mother is so lucky to have a son to treat her to such a nice dinner. Wow. A-team reigns supreme. And what's
awesome.
wrong with being nice to your mother? There's not everyone should be nice to their mother, okay? Assuming they deserve it and we're a good mother, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
It's true. Look, no woman wants a man who is mean to his mother.
True.
There's nothing more unattractive than that.
That's true. Woman. You should never listen. And I know, maybe it's very easy for you to get fed up with your mother, to yell at your mother, but don't do that in front of your girlfriend.
Right.
Okay.
Do it behind closed doors where you can hit her.
Exactly. That's what you should do for all women. Okay.
Oh my God. Sitch,
Dr. Gittler for $2 says creative is bad. People who refer to comedians as funny men physically repulse me. True.
Oh, really?
That's another bad one. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. That's not good. Okay, can we watch this? Will we get in trouble for watching the trailer?
Why would we?
I don't know. I guess you're right. Yeah. Okay, let's watch this. This was the Deadpool versus Wolverine trailer. I believe this was played during the Super Bowl for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's watch it. Then
are we going to pause it or are we just going to watch it and then talk about it?
Let's just watch it. It's only like a minute, right?
It's like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it up.
Happy birthday to you.
All right, okay. It's been a challenging few years, for sure. But I'm happy. That is because of each and every one of you. I'm the luckiest man alive.
Make a wish, buddy.
Wade Wilson?
Who's asking? Whoa, 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 whoa. Is that supposed to be scary? Pegging isn't new for me, friendo, but it is for Disney.
Mr. Wilson, you appear to have soiled yourself while unconscious.
I wasn't unconscious. Who are you? Why am I here?
Walk with me. Wade, you are special. This is your chance to be a hero among heroes.
I smell what you're stepping in, Sensei. Your little cinematic universe is about to change forever. I'm the Messiah. I am Marvel Jesus.
God, please! Oh my God! God, I love this part. Wait!
Who's this guy?
Don't just stand there, you ape. Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much.
What did he do?
Yeah.
Stab him there?
That's what it looks like.
So they're fighting. They're against one another.
I mean, they're gonna have to fight, and then they're gonna become friends, right? That's the rules of all superhero team ups.
It is the plot line of Step Brothers, which is one of my favorite movies.
So, okay, let's talk about this trailer. So, first of all, I mean, I hope it's good. I like the Deadpool movies.
Yeah, the Deadpool.
Okay.
The first Deadpool was great. The second Deadpool was adequate, I would say.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yes. I think Gina Carano was in the second Deadpool, actually.
She was in the first Deadpool.
Was she? Okay, you're right.
I don't know. I get them both. No, she was in the second one because she fights Colossus. That's right.
Okay,
yeah.
so she was in one of them.
Yes.
But yes. And look, Marvel is kind of in the toilet right now. So,
Right.
I mean, yay, Deadpool.
So, okay, I have a lot. I have a lot to say about this because, like, I mean, I like the trailer. It looks funny. It looks good.
Yeah,
I
the
like
action
it.
looks amazing. But
Yeah.
obviously, Deadpool is known for action. So
Good action, good comedy. I'm a little worried by a couple of things. First of all, I'm a little worried. Why do we not see? It's called Deadpool and Wolverine, and we only get 2 shots of Wolverine, and they're both from behind.
Mhm.
Why would he not be like front and center in the trailer? Isn't
well,
that
this
kind
is
of
a
weird?
teaser. So usually they drop, they do
Mhm.
aggressive. And also, I had read that they only finished shooting this movie 3 weeks ago.
Oh, so maybe there
So-
just aren't scenes done.
Yeah, yeah.
They haven't correctly digitally de-aged Hugh Jackman yet. Is that, is that what you're saying?
Maybe that could be
Because
that could be part of it.
Because they show what looks like. Well, first of all, Wolverine's not supposed to age. We're supposed to age very slowly. Number one,
Right.
and then
yeah.
it looks like Deadpool's going back in time to talk to a younger Wolverine. So they're probably going to have to put all sorts of digital effects on his face to make him look younger.
They're probably doing that as an excuse to make him look younger because he is kind of showing his age, and that is out of character for Wolverine, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
And they'll have Deadpool make a comment about the fact that they're putting a bunch of special effects on his face and it costs so much to digitally de-age Hugh Jackman.
Right. And then he'll look into the camera and say, but Disney did an excellent job at this.
Yes, right. Right. Okay. So that's the first thing. The second thing, which is my bigger concern here, is that even though this looks funny, and this could go either way, I am very hesitant that they're bringing the TVA into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, let's talk about that because that's from a
Loki.
television show. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So it's not really been in. Well, I guess has it been in a movie? Was it in Ant-Man?
Was it? I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, no.
Wait, it was in Marvels, wasn't it? No.
Well, I don't know.
No.
I didn't see the Marvels, so maybe.
Yeah.
But so Kang, who created the TVA.
What does TVA stand for those?
The Time Variance Authority.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So for those that don't know, because you didn't watch the Loki TV show, essentially there's a group called the TVA, which is created by Kang, which goes around and annihilates all timelines except for one. So, and this is why I'm nervous about this. This idea is the dumbest fucking idea ever. Okay. In the Loki TV show, they introduced the idea that every time a person makes a decision, it creates an alternate timeline that could create an alternate timeline. And there's an organization that goes around cutting and destroying all the alternate timelines. So there's just one timeline. And this is done because otherwise other versions of Kang will exist and they'll fight each other and they'll destroy all of reality, which apparently happened in the past. And then the first season of Loki ends with basically them killing a version of Kang so that a bunch of other timelines could exist. And then the second season of Loki ends with basically Loki, for some reason, has to sacrifice himself to become time god so that you could have infinite branching timelines once more. And so I think the whole thing with I don't like the TVA. I think it's a stupid concept. And I think it ruins a lot of things, like, because it kind of implies that all the Marvel movies had to end the way they ended. Otherwise, an alternate, like an external force in the universe would have come and saved everyone, because it has to maintain that a specific line of fate existed. And I hate that concept. And to bring that into the Marvel movie seems to me to be a big mistake, and it complicates so much of like the multiverse garbage that I just like you're gonna have to answer all these questions about like why are the multiverses even allowed? Why are they not destroyed? What like how does this all take place in the timeline of all this nonsense? You know, so I don't know. I am nervous that they're bringing all the TVA shit into the Marvel movies and they're making it officially canon in the Marvel movies. But the only hope is that because Deadpool's in it, that it's basically Deadpool mocking and maybe even destroying the TVA. Maybe like my dream, I don't think it's going to happen. My dream would be that Deadpool will basically make fun of the TVA and destroy it as a way to fix all the dumb shit that happened in the Loki TV show. Like that'd be my dream, but I'm not going to hold my breath that that's what's going to happen.
Deadpool is the perfect character to actually do that because there's far more comedy element. He is maybe the only character, I guess, other than She-Hulk to break the fourth wall and actually talk to the audience and whatnot. So
yeah,
there's that element of it. Yeah, I don't like the multiverse stuff. They did kind of tease it, I guess, in Ant-Man because they had that final scene with all of the Kangs laughing.
They had the multiverse. They've always had they had the multiverse they had in Doctor Strange and in Spider-Man. It just wasn't that they didn't bring the TVA
Oh, you're right.
specifically.
They did have it in Spider-Man. Oh,
right.
This is like such a nightmare.
Yeah, which, multiverse stuff, like I understand it's overplayed and fine. It's just the TVA specifically, I think is a bad idea to bring into the equation. Because then it's always like, well, why did they allow they should be destroying all the multiverses? Like how in the timeline does any of this stuff make sense? Exactly.
Right.
It adds too much like stupid plot holes and complexity for a concept that doesn't add anything of value, essentially.
Right. So you don't mind multiverse in that they can jump to a different universe. You just don't like the idea that there's this secret organization that goes around destroying multiverses.
I don't like the idea that they were going around destroying every other universe except for one.
Right.
And I don't like the idea that the way universes in Marvel work is that every time a person makes a decision, there's an alternate version
created,
that can make another decision or potentially just on a whim, to me is stupid. And that there's some organization of like infinite number of people would be required to go deleting all these alternate universes. It's just so stupidly complicated and extensive and doesn't really make sense. If you have to like literally have infinite number of people infinitely doing this at all times.
Yeah.
So.
How does that figure into the Spider-Verse? Because Spot is the one that's destroying the various universes in that timeline. Not
I don't know.
Yeah, that makes absolutely no sense.
That's another question, and I had speculated this, unfortunately, and I said
like
I hope
Spot
that they
versus TVA.
Right. I hope they don't bring the TVA into the Spider-Verse because it could be like that's Miguel gives the whole into Spider-Verse. Miguel gives that whole speech about how there's these canon events and everyone has to do all like you have to let Uncle Ben die and you have to let Gwen Stacy's father die in order to like maintain the integrity of the universe. And that could all just be how does that the rules of that mesh with all the other Marvel movies and mesh with the TVA? They don't mesh. They don't even make sense.
They don't mesh at all.
Unless it's like because if you don't, the TVA comes and deletes your timeline or something. Like it's not clear what the fuck's going. Like the various rules of the multiverses, because all the Marvel movies have to be connected, have to all make sense within each other, and they don't already.
Yeah, it's a horrifying path that we're on.
Yes.
So, but I'm allowed to enjoy the action, right, Sitch? I can
of course
sit back.
Listen, I will hold out. I'm gonna do something I don't normally do. I'm gonna be positive.
Okay.
I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm gonna hold out positivity that the Deadpool 3 movie will be Deadpool crapping all over the TVA, crapping all over the multiverse, and the intelligent writing of this movie will use this as an opportunity to retcon out of oblivion all the dumb TVA garbage. I'm gonna say that's gonna happen. I'm gonna be optimistic, baby.
She-Hulk basically retconned an entire season, right? I mean,
yes.
In the last episode. I mean, they did it completely poorly and
yes,
maybe they can do that same thing, but just execute it well instead of horribly. And they can get us out of this whole multiverse mess.
Maybe.
The
That would be
multiverse of
nice.
madness.
Yes.
Seems like an appropriate title. This whole clusterfuck, right?
True.
But yeah, okay, cool. This doesn't come out until July, so
July.
we have some time.
Spider-Verse is connected to the MCU. In the movie, they show the other Spider people who were in the MCU Spider-Man. They show Garfield running around, and Miguel even mentions that movie. He talks about the Doctor Strange showing up in the Spider-Man movie where they created all the other Spider-Men. They directly reference that, so it is connected.
It is, yeah, it is,
and that's why they Into the Spider, I forget. There's like a specific number, like 1999 or something. There's a specific number for what universe Miles exists in. And so for the main MCU, they use 616 like the comics, even though it's not technically 616, the comic 616. So anyway, CT for 5 Canadian says, can I come on and play Cyberpunk while you guys talk about political bullshit? I'll pretend to care while making sex jokes about characters. There you go. Maybe we'll do that next time. Self-Provide says, to be fair, there are people who are high risk where COVID could kill them, or they had long COVID. Those people aren't overacting. That is true. That is definitely true.
Yeah. Yes.
Everyone has to take it on a personal basis, which is what we said during the pandemic. Solid for $2 says, are any of the MC shows worth watching? I would say no. Do you agree with that?
Well, if you have a YouTube channel and they're horrendous and you're making a bunch of ad revenue,
well, then you should watch all of them.
Talking about how terrible they are. Yeah. You should definitely watch. But I do admit it is kind of painful. Sitch and I were doing videos on She-Hulk. And I mean, it was not fun.
Yeah.
So at some point you're like, why does this? You're just like, why does this have to be so terrible?
Yeah, I know. And then I tried recently. I tried to watch Moon Knight and I tried to watch Miss Marvel. And I could only make it through like 2 or 3 episodes. I just gave up because they were just so boring. And the pacing is so atrocious. I couldn't deal with it. I was like, this is not good.
Yeah, it's painful on multiple levels for people like Sitch and I who are writers who know about storytelling, just because it feels like such opportunity lost.
Yes.
These are such amazing characters that they could do so much with, and they just squander it on superficial political topics that are just it's so boring.
Just nonsense. Yeah, it's so disappointing because like I really liked the first 2 episodes of WandaVision. I thought were great. And then it just becomes trash or slow. It just breaks down after that. And then the same thing, like the first episode of Loki, I really liked a lot. And then it just falls apart after that.
Yeah, they do
so hard. Yeah.
They're so good at planting expectations of something amazing. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they didn't go there. So it like kind of blossoms in your mind. And then none of that comes true. And you're kind of demoralized by it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they set up this very interesting idea about like this like soul-crushing bureaucracy that controls all time and space, but it's like funny and it's played for laughs and I love it. And then it's like, oh, now we're going to have the rest of the show not be about that, or it's going to be about Loki becoming horribly incompetent loser who's pining after a female version of himself who's super strong girl competence, go get them. And you're like, are you fucking for real? Like, are you kidding me? Like
some weird romantic comedy.
Yeah, but it's so odd, and I hate to say it, and it's just so obvious that the woke nonsense had bled into the show. They have to make male Loki horribly incompetent and buffoon, and female Loki has to be super competent badass. And I was just like, really?
Why do I always think that as they're writing the script, they have Twitter open in another tab? Why do I always think that, Sitch?
Because they do. Because they do is the answer to that question. So, Nomad for $5 says the MCU should have ended at Endgame, but I do appreciate Spider-Man No Way Home. Yeah, it's hard to go anywhere from Endgame. Endgame felt like a very solid conclusion to the entire Marvel franchise. And it's just everyone felt it, and it's hard to just go anywhere from there. So
You can't leave all that money on the table.
no, obviously they're not going to.
It
I'm just saying
sucks
how
that
it
they
felt.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks that they didn't have a plan for how to reignite it in an even bigger way
They had a plan. It was just a bad plan.
with the Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, Kang, and see the problem is you could
None of those characters, all those characters suck.
I know. The problem is they could do it. It's just you would actually have, if you're thinking about this strategically, whatever story would come, the stories that would come precede like right after Endgame have to actually be better written and better movies than the original ones.
Yeah.
That's how difficult the task is because you have to reignite everyone's interest, go, oh shit, like this is good. Like I thought it was over, but this is good. It's a very tough hill to surpass. And yet, obviously the ones that came right after were all for the most part terrible. So
yeah, they're not getting any better. This Deadpool and Wolverine is the first thing that actually looks like, okay, maybe this is going to be good. Fingers crossed here.
JMac for $20. Thank you so much. JMac says it's too complex for hack writers who wouldn't be able to detect plot holes in a Curious George book. Moe, everything put out in the last decade has shown us as much. That is true.
Yes. Yeah.
That is true. Sony for 13 months. Thank you. Says, I have to say the TVA stuff in Loki has been good. Kind of the same plot as 12 Monkeys TV show and Ouroboros of Time. So I will say that Loki season 2 was better than Loki season 1 because it mostly focuses on the TVA. It has short rounds from Everything Everywhere at Once, and I really like him as an actor, and he's really good in Loki season 2. And it has significantly less femme Loki. So Loki season 2 is definitely way better than Loki season 1. I still think the ending is stupid and makes absolutely no fucking sense.
Oh, that's so bad.
And again, I like the concept of an all-powerful bureaucracy that's run like a soul that looks like it's from the 1970s. I don't know why they updated the look in the movie, so I don't like that. But it looks like it's from the 1970s and has like a soul-crushing tone to it, even though they're all powerful. I've always liked those ideas, like in Hitchhiker's Guide or Brazil. I think it's a funny concept. It's just the law. So I guess really not the TVA that bothers me. It's the laws and ideas about how time and alternate universes work in the Marvel universe, to me, are stupid and should not exist that way. So Cyborg for $5 says, my theory is they're using this movie to retcon all the previous garbage movies. I mean, I hope you're right.
Yeah, let's pray for that.
CT for 2 Canadians says, I got one word for the chat. Pan Am? No one tell them.
Okay.
What does that mean?
I think that's what they're not supposed to tell us what it means.
That's a character from Cyberpunk? Okay. All right.
All right. Look at this. We said all right at the same time.
There it is.
Wrapping up. Well, I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Well, no, I'm not going to be on tomorrow.
What?
I'm traveling. We talked about that.
I thought you were taking Monday off.
What the fuck are you talking? Today's Tuesday.
Yeah, I know, but we took Monday off, so.
I know.
I thought we were taking Monday or Wednesday off, but I guess that wasn't. Okay.
No.
No stream tomorrow. We'll stream on Thursday.
We'll stream on Thursday, yes.
We'll stream on Friday.
We'll see you on Thursday and Friday. Same kablam time.
Well, no, we'll be early on Friday, but
that's true.
Close to the same kablam time.
That's true. Listen,
this was a lot of fun.
Nobody worries about it.
Thank you for all the super chats. You want to say any? You want to say? Look, we don't have an.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.